Today, we're going to be talking about some of the most dread-inducing FNAF fan games ever created. These games don't just scare you when something attacks, they make you terrified of what might happen next. From unbearable tension to that constant feeling that something horrible is coming, these games make every second feel unsafe, so let's get into them.
What makes a horror game truly scary? Is it jump scares, atmosphere, build-up? Well, of course, all of these things together and more is what builds up a horror game to be something amazing. But I think if I had to choose one word to answer the question, what makes a horror game truly scary, my answer would be realism. In order for your game to be truly scary, I feel like the player has to be able to connect with your game on a personal level. And what better way to make that happen than to make the environment around them feel real? The game we'll be talking about today, I feel, pulled this off almost perfectly. A Five Nights at Freddy's fan game that was able to capture the real feel of an office, an environment, and realistic means of self-defense in a situation that seems so dire, you'd think you'd never be able to make it out to tell the tale. The game we'll be covering today is Freddy's Reanimated, the most realistic FNAF game ever made. Reanimated does not begin like most FNAF games tend to. This game opens to a dark void. We're told that when we die, we will be brought back to this void and that we won't be remembered. However, if we are to be remembered, what is the name we'd like etched into our headstone? And it's here where we can actually choose a name for our character. Afterwards, we're booted into the menu where we can begin the game. As the game begins, we're given a pretty eerie opening cinematic, something pretty uncommon with Five Nights at Freddy's games. It serves to show how we found the job online on a listing site to work as a security guard for 5 days in an abandoned pizzeria. Fantastic! I know myself personally would never accept a job that I know for a fact won't even last a week, but hey, different strokes for different folks, I suppose. With that, we're thrown into the first night where I can talk about hands down one of my favorite parts about this game. Loading into the office, we're hit with something crazy. This game looks real. The office looks like an actual office, with objects placed around that actually look like they should be there, not just a random assortment of items like we typically see in FNAF games. And the sound design is amazing. This game looks real, it sounds real, and I think that's one of the big reasons why people love this game so much. It tries to feel real. Watch for when he's closest, he can be tricked easily. What the fuck does that mean, bro? Holy shit. Oh my god. What the fuck? This looks sick. Of course, like most FNAF games tend to do, we have a phone call on each night to listen to. Instead of the usual where the phone guy at least sounds somewhat like they know what they're doing, the phone guy in Reanimated sounds baked out of his fucking mind.
Speaking of which, the only reason we have a security guard job right now is because the place is being demolished soon. So we don't want any funny business going on at night.
He tells us the basics of our camera. Who cares? That's my job. What he does say that's actually of note is that the building we're in has been abandoned for over a decade. And the only reason we're watching over it now is because the building is about to be demolished. And for some reason, they're concerned about funny business going on because of that. I have no idea what funny business is supposed to mean. My first guess was people breaking in to steal something, but then I thought, well, that doesn't make sense. People could have been stealing from this place for the last 10 plus years. Why would they all of a sudden decide they needed to do this now? Maybe it means graffiti, but the place is being demolished, so who cares? This is such a weird thing to latch onto, but I just feel like it's strange to mention this now. And it does actually bring up a good question. Why would you hire someone to guard a building that won't exist in 5 days? But you never hired a guard for the past 10 years that it was abandoned. It almost makes you wonder if they were expecting something to happen. And maybe that's why they're demolishing it. Before I get into any of the characters, let's talk about the controls of this game and the 3 tools at our disposal. You can only look in 2 directions in this game, at your computer and at your door and window. Something super interesting about this door is that it is actually just a door, which is pretty scary in a game like this where your doors are mainly known as your only means of defense. You can pull the blinds of your window down if you want to, and when I first found that out, I was reasonably concerned as to why. I see this right here, and I know this game's about to be fucked. I know this game is about to be so fucked, dude. It's just a normal fucking door. Bro, these motherfuckers gonna open the shit out of that thing. And we'll get into why in just a minute. But first, I really want to talk about the cameras and why they serve to be one of the most difficult things to deal with in this entire game. Upon looking at the cameras, you'll realize there's no typical camera map and buttons. Instead, there's just arrows at the bottom of the cameras that you can click to move from one camera to the next, fairly slowly. This is brilliant in two ways. With the realism approach that this game is taking, looking at the surroundings, we can tell that this game takes place a pretty long time ago in 2013. We can tell this because of the confirm window at the beginning of the game being Windows 7 and the fact that the game tells us. But I just wanted to seem cool by pointing out that I knew what the Windows 7 UI was. Shut up. And yes, 2013 was a long time ago. I know for some of you it may not feel like it, but it was 12 years ago. That's older than some of my audience who, let's be honest, really shouldn't be watching my videos. Mom and dad, monitor your kids, fuckhead. Knowing this, and knowing that the game is aiming to be realistic, opting to use a slow, outdated system like this is genius, even if, yes, I think it's AIDS and very annoying. However, once we start talking about the way this game plays, I'll bring up why I think the way these cameras are set up is needed. Anyways, on to the reason why I think this is as annoying as it is. Mainly because it's not consistent in one way that I would expect it to be. There are 9 cameras in total to surf through. When you reach camera 9, if you press the forward arrow again, you will be sent back to camera 1. That makes sense. So, what do you think happens if you press the back arrow while on camera 1? If you said you go back to camera 9, you would be completely wrong because the back arrow doesn't even fucking exist on camera 1. Why is this the case? I have no idea. If it was consistent either way, this wouldn't bother me, but you can cycle in one direction and not the other. And yes, this is noticeable and it does matter. Now we can finally talk about the first threat this game throws at you. I'm sure you could have guessed who it is. That's right, it's Chica. I lied, it's Bonnie. Of course it's Bonnie. Surprisingly, each character in this game attacks you in a unique way. Even though we only have 3 tools, this game somehow manages to make each character vastly different from one another, and I think that's amazing. Bonnie's main goal is to sneak into your office. He will move around the cameras until he gets to your door. And when he gets to your door, be ready. Close that motherfucker! Oh my god. Dude, literally fuck that. Literally fuck that. The moment I saw this, I knew that this was getting a Dexter White video. And even the people in my comments over on my second channel, Dexter Black, knew that this game was getting a White video. I actually had another video lined up for this week, and I've chosen to postpone it so that I could talk about this game first, since I love it so much. It's moments like these that FNAF games need. Once Bonnie is at your window, all you have to do is hold down your blinds until you hear his big fat feet galloping away. Not an overtly difficult character to deal with, but really paves the way for what the rest of this game has to offer. Luckily for us, there's a post-night minigame section after each night that we get to talk about. But hold up, Dexter. Don't you usually hate post-night minigames? Yeah, typically I do. However, this game's post-night minigames don't make me want to shove a porcupine in my asshole backwards. There's no repetitive 8-bit minigames, and again, what we're doing in these minigames still feels realistic. After completing the night, we get another call from the phone guy. He asks us before we head home to go into the storage room and find an old computer, which we can use to upload some old pictures and footage of the building to the cloud. He says he wants to upload some of the interesting stuff to his personal blog, which I'm sure violates some sort of contract, but who am I to care? I break the law all the time. For example, if I was in the UK, I'd probably be arrested on the spot because of the language I choose to use. Anyways, something I think is cool is that we actually get to walk into the back room. We don't just miraculously get placed there. This will become important later, by the way. After walking into the storage room, we can access the computer and start uploading files to the cloud. You'll notice that you can turn to the exit of the room. For now, it's unknown why. After waiting for ages for the upload to finish, we walk out of the storage room and finish out our shift, moving on to night 2. On night 2, we get another call from the phone guy, where we find out that our player is actually trying to do something about the fact that the characters are moving. Apparently, we sent an email to the phone guy explaining that we saw Bonnie moving. We called him the creepy rabbit, which seemed to frustrate the phone guy a little bit, to the point he corrected us on his name.
Oh yeah, and that creepy rabbit you were talking about, he has a name. It's Bonnie.
Sure, this could have just been playful, but I get the funny feeling it's not. The threat introduced on this night is Chica, arguably the least threatening character in this entire game. Chica will randomly wander around your cameras, and she has the chance to charge at your door from 2 of those cameras. Except the difference with Chica approaching your door is that closing the blinds will not stop her. She can attack on cameras 2 and camera 4. You can tell when she's going to attack based on the position she's standing in. On camera 2, she'll be very close to the camera, and in camera 4, she'll be on the very left side of the camera. When she is in either of these 2 positions, you will need to use the flash button on your cameras to flash said camera and scare her away. You may be wondering why there's a flash on these cameras. That's not very realistic, and Dexter, you told me this whole game was realistic. And now hear me out. Usually I'd agree with you, but I want you to take that concern like a boomerang and launch it as far away from you as possible. Night 2's post-night minigame has us go back to the computer in the storage room to fiddle with the power system. Now this you can complain about because I have no idea what the hell that is supposed to mean. And actually doing the task doesn't really answer anything either. We are shown a series of sliders that we have to quite literally fiddle with. Apparently doing so will reset the power. How do you tell you've put the sliders in the correct spot? Well, you just have to do trial and error. Move one slider a single place, press reset, and if it turns red, change it again. This is very monotonous. If only there was something else on this night to cure my boredom. I don't want to look back. What did I tell you? It's moments like these that really make these FNAF games stand out. To any future FNAF devs, do cool shit. Your game does not have to be stupidly hard to be memorable. It just has to do cool things. And this is some of the coolest shit I've ever seen. While looking at the computer, Bonnie will slowly try to creep closer and closer to you. You will have to look back at him lest he shoot his Jeep juice all over your spine. You can actually watch him walk backwards while you look at him, almost like he knows you've noticed he's moved, and is attempting to readjust himself so you go back to looking away. What the fuck? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my fucking god! Did you see that shit? Motherfucker just crip walked back, he moonwalked. It's honestly some of the creepiest shit I've ever seen come out of a FNAF game, and I love it. After completing this minigame and turning towards the door, you'll realize that Bonnie has gone away. Obviously getting bored of you because you're boring. So all we have to do now is walk out of the building. You want me to walk out that motherfucking door? You honestly want me to walk out that fucking door? I mean, I'll do it, but fuck. Oh my fucking god! This game is fucking awesome, by the way. But now it's time to move on to night 3. On night 3, the phone guy says he got another email from us because we told him that Chica was now moving too. He said that in case anyone else starts moving, we should use the flash, because they're probably not used to bright lights. Again, I find this weird coming from him. And come to think of it, why would any of the animatronics from any FNAF game be sensitive to light? They're always on stage where bright lights are beaming on them almost constantly. So I just find it odd how much the phone guy seems to want us to do this. He ends off the call by stating he wanted to tell us a story, but he's out of time. Maybe we'll hear that story another day. For now, let me tell you the story of Sparky the dog. You remember, the hoax character that was said to be in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 way back in the day? Yeah, for some reason he's in this game. And he's the threat introduced on night 3. His mechanics are simple, but really start to show how annoying this camera system is going to become. Occasionally, Sparky will bark. When he does, he will be teleported to a random camera. You will have to find which camera he's on and flash him. Am I a huge fan of this mechanic? No, not at all. And I'm really not a fan when I have to meticulously scrape through each camera one by one. Overall, so far, it's not going to be all too bad. Keep your eyes on Chica, find Sparky every once in a while, and occasionally hold the blinds for Bonnie. Simple sugar, not so bad. But trust me, it'll get bad pretty damn fast. After completing the shift, we get another call from the phone guy. He tells us the cameras have been acting strange and that we should use the computer in the storage room to reset them. He also curiously mentions that he has remote access to the camera system. So that brings up the question, why the fuck are we even here? If someone else is able to watch the cameras in the safety of their own home, where there aren't a bunch of murder robots trying to butt fuck them, who cares? Let's just finish our shift and head to the storage room.
I'll see you on the flip side.
I'll see you in the grave, asshole. So let me tell you a little something. Oh my fucking God! I love this game. I don't know if that was obvious or not. Entering the storage room is when we enter by far the most difficult minigame section in this entire game. I'm not kidding. We're tasked with literally just holding a button down on the PC. Once it charges all the way, we'll reset a camera and move on to the next one. However, when you let go, the bar will very quickly decrease. That may not sound so bad. It would only be bad if we had a certain purple distraction trying to blow our backs out now, wouldn't it? What the fuck? What? Bro, he's fast as shit. Bonnie is the sole reason why this minigame is so AIDS. Bonnie, for some reason, thought that today was the day he was going to take the Rock Lee ankle weights off and show us his true speed. Bonnie is so astronomically fast during this minigame, it's not even funny. 3, 2, 3. Oh my motherfucking God. Oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God. Can I break his knees? You have maybe 2 seconds of time to look at the screen before he kills you, so you have to be fast. And what adds to the difficulty of this night, the hitbox of the progress bar you have to click and hold. Swiping your mouse back and forth to check on Bonnie, then moving back to the computer is insanity. And when you come back, you have to hold the position of your mouse on this tiny little progress bar and continue to hold. But you can only hold for maybe 1 second before you have to turn back around to Bonnie and wait for him to walk all the way back to the door. And keep in mind, the progress bar is decreasing every time you look away, so you're really just fucked. And once you complete a camera is when you notice you have to fix 3 more. And if you ever die to Bonnie, go back into them all over again. Fuck you. This minigame took me around 30 minutes to finally complete. It's unironically the second hardest canonical challenge in this game, and I would love to have to never do it again. Oh, but one more interesting detail about this minigame. The final camera you fix briefly shows Foxy in the camera. Oh boy, I hope that's not foreshadowing or something. After completing that hell, we don't have to almost get touched by any robots on our way out and are free to move on to night 4. The phone guy calls us and fucking rambles about some bullshit I don't care about. He says that there was an ancient civilization that archaeologists found, and those researchers were later haunted by handprints of the ancient civilization. Again, I really don't give a fuck. This is purely symbolic for the story of the game, which I'll talk about later. But this was the story he was itching to tell us. I would rather itch my balls than hear him talk about that again. The threat introduced on this night is Foxy. Spoiler alert, the camera was foreshadowing something. Foxy acts exactly how you think Foxy would act. You have to look at him to stall him, and if you don't, he'll run to your office. But as I'm sure you could have guessed, he too doesn't care about your door. Watching him will push him back, so you know, just make sure you're doing that. Something of note is how Foxy breaks the cycle you've been really trying to build up throughout the game, forcing you to develop a new one. Up until this point, watching Chica has probably been your main focus. But now with the character that demands even more attention, I'm sure you could figure out why Foxy will put a big wrench into your plans. Now you have to find a way to constantly watch Foxy and Chica. And lucky us, Foxy is on camera 6, several cameras away from Chica's attack cameras. This game knows what it's doing. Sure, it's frustrating, but it's also genius. In this post-night minigame, we're told we have to fix a ventilation problem. Phone guy tells us it's just turning a few knobs. The ventilation room is in a door right off of the storage room, so the storage room is where we go.
I don't see anyone yet. Hi, Bonnie. Were you expecting me to go there? Were you expecting to cut me off? Sorry, asshole. Not gonna happen.
Is that not horrifying? Bonnie is standing right next to the computer we've been going to every night. He's starting to remember our patterns, getting to the computer before we can in hopes that he could jump us. But lucky for us, the computer is not where we need to go this time. Entering into the ventilation room, we have 6 knobs in front of us and 2 large vents to our left and right. Pretty reminiscent of the office from Pizzeria Simulator. I wonder if anything is going to come through those vents to try and kill us. Silly little viewer. Of course there is. This minigame's threat is Foxy. Throughout the minigame, Foxy will make quiet sound cues in whichever vent he's about to attack from. When you hear him, all you have to do is turn to stare at him until he goes away. Meanwhile, you have to painfully slowly turn these 6 knobs, which will take a very long time. Because as you get closer to having them all finish, it seems that Foxy will attack you more and more frequently. After completing this task, we can leave with no other funny business taking place. Finally, we're left with one last night. One last thing standing in our way, and this game holds no punches in introducing it. Before you is something long forgotten. Something that was once loved and cherished, but now it lies broken. It is left abandoned. You know what becomes of something long forgotten. It dies a second death. It grows cold. It is unmoving. But what if some things don't wish to be forgotten? Do you know what happens when something refuses to be forgotten? It becomes angry. Anger is eternal. Anger grows, it festers, it burns, it writhes, and then it finally happens. It is given new life. It returns to us. It haunts us. However, it doesn't return as it once was. It returns as something else, something unrecognizable. Through its anger, it is reanimated. And with that, we're given one final message. The flash slows him down. Godspeed. When I first read that message, it gave me chills for some reason. It's like just by reading that, I knew what I was about to experience. Absolute agony. We get another call from the phone guy. He explains his reasoning for why he thinks the robots are alive. He thinks they're angry that they've been forgotten about and left abandoned for years, and he couldn't be more right. Night 5 introduces Freddy. Holy fucking shit, Freddy. Freddy is by far the most dangerous character in this entire game. When Freddy moves forward, he will never move backwards. And once he gets to your office, it's over for you. Yo, get the fuck away from that fucking door! You get the fuck away from that door! What? Oh, fuck, dude. Freddy is a dick. Raps. How do you stall Freddy? By using the flash, of course. When you flash Freddy, he will cover his eyes. Something interesting to note is that Freddy is the only character to be animated on the cameras. Such a small detail, but a detail I think is really cool. If you really want to make sure Freddy doesn't move, you'll have to time his intervals, since they don't vary, and make sure you're onto his camera and flash him at quite literally every single opportunity. You don't have much time to waste, as Freddy is fast. Really fucking fast. I don't quite have the vocabulary necessary to describe how intense this night really is. And if you get bad Sparky spawns like I often did, you could easily spend hours on this night. I was lucky enough to only have it take me a single hour. But if you manage to control your nerves long enough to complete this night, we will have one final minigame to talk about. After completion, We get one final call from the phone guy. He very ominously tells us to enter the dining room. He says he wants to show us something. Upon entering the dining room, we're greeted by all 5 animatronics staring back at us. The camera to the dining room flashes, and we hear the phone guy, named Ralph, explain that the reason it flashes is so that you can take a screenshot of the camera. Ow! Oh! Fuck! See? That's why I told you to make it a boomerang. Ralph then used that image to post on his blog. He's been using these camera images for his blog all week, and we were the bait. One last goodbye is said, and the restaurant goes quiet. The gameplay of Freddy's Reanimated is incredible. There's no doubting that. This game, of course, has a custom night with 3 additional unlockable characters, the first of which being Bon Bon, who's actually a reference to the game Freddy's Web Adventure. Pretty cool. Occasionally, he will appear on your cameras. If you don't click him fast enough, he will disable all of them for the remainder of the night. The next character you can unlock is called the Hawk. He acts as a Phantom Chica-like character. He will periodically appear on the cameras, blocking the view, and if you don't turn away from him, he will kill you. Pretty simple, but in a game where the cameras are super important, this guy can be a big pain in the ass. Finally, the last character you can unlock is Sienna, by far the most cancerous of the Custom Night 3. She will occasionally block the clock next to your door, which somehow prevents time from passing. This is a Custom Night character that can drop the realism at this point. All you have to do is click her nose and she will go away and the time will continue to pass. Altogether, completing a Custom Night with these 3 additional characters is a torture I would never want to put myself through. But shout out to Dark Ryun, who was able to pull it off, and whose footage you're seeing right now. I should mention that the Custom Night does have a secret ending, but I'll bring it up when I talk about the story of this game, which, you know, we'll do right now. The story of Freddy's Reanimated is honestly one of the most surprisingly thoughtful pieces of writing I've ever seen in a FNAF fan game. It's not about murder or purple men or endless timelines that make my brain feel like fucking mashed potatoes. It's about being forgotten, and about what happens when something that used to bring people joy is left to rot and fade away. The entire game is built on this theme: nostalgia, decay, and the quiet horror of being erased from memory. Freddy's Reanimated takes place inside Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, a restaurant that's already dead by the time we get there. It used to be loved. Kids laughed, parents smiled, the animatronics performed, and everything was fine, until it wasn't. Over time, the crowd stopped coming, the lights dimmed, the laughter stopped. The building was abandoned and left to gather dust for over a decade. No massacres, no missing children, just nothing. The kind of death most things really suffer. When the game starts, we're told the place is finally being demolished, and Ralph, the manager, hires a night guard to keep an eye on the place for the last few days. That's us. But before us, there was another guard, Mike Schmidt. Yeah, that Mike Schmidt. He worked one night, just one, and didn't make it out. In the demo of this game, we actually see what happened. Mike survives until 6 a.m. The power cuts, and Freddy himself storms into the office and literally bites his head off. No mystery, no cover-up. It's brutal, it's direct, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. When Ralph brings us in months later, he acts like none of that ever happened. He's casual, a little too calm, and gives us these half-baked instructions that sound like he's either high out of his mind or hiding something. He keeps asking us to do these little tasks: fix the power, upload old files, check the cameras, all while brushing off the fact that the animatronics are moving. Every night, our character emails Ralph describing what they saw, and every night Ralph dances around the truth. He never says, "You're wrong," but he never says, "You're right" either. It's like he knows what's going on, but refuses to say it out loud. Then, finally, on the last night, Ralph tells us a story. The story he's been dying to share. He says that back in the 1940s, archaeologists discovered a cave covered in human handprints. The people who found it were haunted by those same handprints for the rest of their lives. Like the dead were reaching out just to remind them they were still there. And Ralph thinks the same thing is happening to Freddy's. He believes the animatronics are moving because they refuse to be forgotten. That after sitting abandoned for over a decade, their anger, this pure, desperate rage, literally reanimated them. Not out of vengeance, not because of possession, but because of memory. Because they were once loved and then left behind. It's such a fascinating take. The idea that these animatronics aren't evil, they're afraid of fading away. It's one of the first FNAF fan games I've seen that makes you feel sorry for the monsters chasing you. They're not killing you because they want to, they're killing you because they don't want to disappear. After you survive the final night, Ralph asks you to head into the dining room. He says he wants to show you something. When you enter, all 5 animatronics are standing there, waiting for you. It's one of the eeriest visuals in the entire game. Completely still, completely silent. Ralph activates the camera flash, and the screen freezes in a burst of light. Then he says,
I finally figured out what the flash button does. It lights up the room so that you can take a screenshot of the camera you're looking at. I finally have more recent images for my blog.
And that's when it hits you. The whole time, we weren't protecting the building, we were the bait. Ralph was using us to get the footage and screenshots he wanted for his personal blog, to turn the remains of this haunted restaurant into online content, the same way we, as players, chase nostalgia. Ralph chases it too. He's obsessed with documenting something that's supposed to be gone. After everything, the building is demolished. Ralph's posts about it online, sparking renewed interest in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. People remember it again. The animatronics, those same restless spirits that didn't want to be forgotten, finally get what they wanted. They are remembered. And then they rest. The player gets their paycheck. The story ends not with a scream, but with silence. It's such a powerful way to close things out. Freddy's Reanimated isn't about surviving animatronics. It's about the fear of being erased. It's about what happens when the world moves on and leaves you behind. Even the custom night ending reflects that idea. Mike Schmidt's death is written off as a bear attack. Just a tiny headline, nothing more. And Freddy Fazbear himself, lying in the rubble, surrounded by everything that used to be alive, now just forgotten scraps of metal. For a game that's meant to be realistic, it's ironic that the story is one of the most human I've ever seen in this genre. Freddy's Reanimated isn't just the most realistic FNAF game ever made, it's one of the most real stories the community has ever told. Would you like to hear one last interesting piece of information I have to share? There is a secret in this game up until this point. As far as I'm aware, nobody has ever found it, and I can guarantee you've never seen it before. A secret so rare that the chances of finding it exceed luck that no human has ever had. And I want to thank City, the author of the FNAF fan game wiki, for providing me with this information and allowing me to share it with you guys. We know that Michael got bitten and killed by Freddy, but did you know you can actually see Michael's corpse inside of the game? You just have to be incredibly lucky. To start, you must have already beaten the main game. No custom night completion is necessary. Then you have to restart the game from night 1. Before completing night 3, you will have to die at least 5 times. Then, upon beating night 3, when entering the hallway, there's a 1 in 10,000 chance to see the corpse. Slight gore warning, by the way. This is probably the most realistic looking gore I've ever seen in a FNAF game. If you can pull all of that off and get more lucky than any human on Earth, this is what you will see in the hallway. Truly some of the scariest shit I've ever seen. But there you have it. That's everything as far as I'm aware that Freddy's Reanimated has to offer. Overall, this game is one of the coolest experiences I've ever had since starting this channel. I don't think this game is nearly my favorite. I think I like Juniors and Banshee just a little bit more, but it's definitely close. The atmosphere, the sound design, the game design are all borderline perfect works of art. Scopophobia is the irrational fear of being persistently stared at or watched. For most people, I feel being watched is one of those things that is just universally feared. Several forms of media have been made around it, from books to movies, and of course, horror games. But what about FNAF games? What is the scariest FNAF game you've ever played? And while playing it, did you get the strange feeling that you were being stalked? Banshee is a new FNAF fan game created by Kimarzuru and released fully on July 23rd, 2025. For a lot of people, the FNAF genre hasn't grown boring, but has lost a lot of the fear factor that it once had. I know for me personally that is the case. Sure, cheap jump scares will always startle people, but actually being scared is something that most FNAF games just aren't capable of doing anymore. Banshee, however, is different. Banshee isn't just scary, Banshee is horrifying. Grab a drink and get ready to jump into the rabbit hole that is Banshee, Five Nights at Freddy's most horrifying fan game. Banshee is a game heavily inspired by the original Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator, mainly taking inspiration from the night sections of that game, wherein instead of beating the night by surviving, you instead have to complete multiple tasks, making the length of the night dependent on you. Of course, when you think of Pizzeria Simulator, the very well-known salvaging sections may come to mind, and don't worry, Banshee has those too. Before every night, you will have to salvage a character in much the same way you do so in Pizzeria Simulator. On night 1, you have to salvage Springtrap. Pause. This design is actually horrific. This is gross. I haven't seen a model from a game that made me as uncomfortable as this one has in a long time. And trust me, they only get more grotesque and uncomfortable as we follow the White Rabbit. To salvage a character, you must first play an audio cue from the tape player in front of you. You can hold up the miliguas, I don't know, to measure the animatronic's aggravation. As you play the audio, the meter will slowly rise, and having it stay on the highest setting for too long will result in a death. Additionally, your tape player may start to malfunction while the sound is playing. If you hear this, you must stop playing the tape for a few moments before turning it back on. The animatronics do not like when the tape player is broken. Once you have the animatronics aggression maxed, input some info into the computer, and it's on to the real night section. And let me tell you, if you thought the night gameplay from FNAF 6 was stressful, you're not ready for what's in store for you in Banshee. Night 1 introduces 2 characters. You may be wondering how that's possible since we've only scrapped one. And that's because one of the 2 characters was in your restaurant from the beginning, that threat being Yellow Bear. Ooh. Wait, am I not safe? Why do I get the feeling that I'm not safe? What the fuck was that? But before we can talk about the threats this night has to offer, we first need to talk about the tasks at hand and our environment. In our office, we obviously have a computer, as well as the doors to our left and right, and a window in front of us. Pressing Control will open up our computer, and this is where the first stressful mechanic comes into play. Unlike most FNAF games where you have your mouse as the main source of user input with the occasional control key, Banshee makes use of your entire keyboard. No, I'm not joking. Your computer has 2 screens, your command screen and your camera screen. You may notice you're unable to press any buttons on the camera screen that would allow you to see around the building. So, how do you see additional cameras? This is where your command screen comes into play. By typing the command CC and pressing enter, you will get access to your camera controls, which is obviously what the CC stands for, dumbass. You can then use your arrow keys to transfer up and down between cameras. No, you cannot use your arrow keys if your camera controls are not up, which means if you're working on something else like a task and need to check a different camera, you will need to type in the camera control command and then start sifting through the cameras. This is obviously stressful as fuck for a number of reasons. On later nights when things begin becoming more hectic, if you're not a fast typer or you can't remember where the keys on your keyboard are without looking, then this will pose a very obvious problem. I mentioned your tasks. What are those exactly? Well, you have 4 tasks you have to complete. Kind of. You don't actually have to complete any tasks to beat Banshee, as there still is a 12 to 6 a.m. timer. So, what's the purpose of the tasks? And to be truthful, the answer is that I don't really know. At the end of each night, it tallies how many tasks you've completed, and that seems to have something to do with how much money you get. So I'm assuming that the only downside is not having money for your tycoon, which is needed for the true ending. But there may be another reason I'm unsure of, and the wiki is no help. Anyways, back to the tasks. Task number 1 requires you to look at 2 items that are going to be shipped. You will have to check if both sides are identical. If they are, type Y and press enter. And if they don't match, press N and then enter. Do this 8 times and the task is complete. But if you ever mess up, you will have to start back from 0. This task is not challenging, but when paired with the other threats this game has to offer, it will quickly become stressful to even be able to manage this. Task 2 requires you to read an excerpt of Who the Fuck Knows What, and either archive it or shred it. To keep it simple, if it's good press, archive it. If it's bad press, shred that bitch. Task 3 involves sitting on your fat lazy ass and waiting for a code to decipher, and then inputting the numbers and pressing enter. Task 4 is much the same, but instead of numbers, it's arrow inputs. And that's all the tasks, which means we can start talking about the threats that this night has to offer. The first of which being the one I mentioned earlier, Yellow Bear. While you never really actually see him, he does still attack you. Throughout the night, you will be able to see posters, drawings, and books around your office that start to change to say, "It's me." If too many of these anomalies occur, Yellow Bear will appear and kill you. In order to make these anomalies go away, you will need to look forward, not have your computer on, and close your eyes for who the fuck knows how long. When you open them back up, they should be gone. If they're not, close your eyes for longer next time, dumbass. Hands down, the easiest threat in this entire game. The other threat is obviously Springtrap, or as this game calls him, just Afton. Afton will walk around the cameras and make his way to your left door. When he's there, he will make no sound cues. Or at least, if he does make a sound cue, I was just never able to hear it. When he is there, all you have to do is turn at him and stare until he moonwalks back into the darkness. Again, some of the creepiest shit I've ever seen.
So where is he?
What the fuck was that? Oh my god, that's actually so fucked. Dude, that's actually so fucked up. That's actually so fucked, dude. Oh my fuck. Oh my fuck. And that's it. Either by completing all the tasks or surviving until 6 a.m., the night will be finished and we're safe to move on to night 2. Now, before we do that, this is where I should probably talk about the tycoon section of this game, but that whole pile of bullshit will be saved until later, because in my full playthrough, which you can see on my second channel, Dexter Black, I butchered the tycoon sections so fucking horribly, you have no idea how badly I fucked them up. So I'll just save that for later. For now, we move on to Salvage 2. Salvage 2 is called Molten, who I originally thought was Ennard. And maybe it is, and this is just another case of the game giving it a different name. I'm not sure. Regardless, he is obviously the threat introduced on this night. So, how does he work? He actually has 2 different mechanics and methods of attack. The first is very similar to Afton, except he attacks from the right door instead of the left. Same thing for him, just look at him and he'll go away. However, once he goes away, he has a chance to initiate his second attack, which by the way can also happen at any time, not just when he leaves your office. Your lights will begin to flicker and an audible sound cue will be heard. This tells you that you need to very quickly find Molten on the cameras. God, is there a FNAF game in existence that doesn't have this fuck-ass mechanic? Whatever. Obviously, you'll probably be doing a task when this happens, so you'll have to type the camera control command and then start using the arrow keys to find him. When you do, you will need to type play and press enter, which will begin playing an audio lure on whatever camera you're looking at. This audio lure will make Molten piss off, which makes everyone happy. Overall, not too difficult. However, from what the community has said, Molten by far caused more deaths than any other character, and I can somewhat agree on that. Night 3 has a scrap Lefty, who in this game is a girl. Maybe Lefty was a girl in the original too? I'm not sure, not important. Lefty can prove to be a very frustrating character, but once you understand how she works, it really shouldn't be an issue. Lefty will very slowly move through the cameras to get to your office. However, if she gets to your office, she'll kill you no matter what. So you have to find a way to keep her from reaching you. Once she progresses to a camera, she will never move back. However, you can use the audio lure on whatever camera she's in to slow her down. This won't stop her from moving, but it will slow her progress dramatically. So much so that even on the hardest non-custom night she appears in, she only ever moved once for me. This obviously does bring up a conflict with Molten, but with how slowly Lefty moves, getting back to her camera in time to put the lore back on really shouldn't be much of an issue. Night 4 introduces the final new character, Baby. Baby is easily the most infuriating character throughout this entire game, and it's not even close. Baby will move through the cameras. Who the fuck cares? Once she's in your office, she will appear in the window in front of you. After a few seconds, she will either walk left or right. Depending on which direction she walks, you will have to close the door on the corresponding side. Something I didn't even know you could do up until this night. After you close the door, a small sound cue will play letting you know she's left, and then you can reopen the door. This doesn't sound too hard, I hear you saying. Well, I haven't told you about the bullshit butt-fuck wombo combo butt-bang strategy that she has. Basically, the bullshit butt-fuck wombo combo butt-bang strategy involves Baby doing a fucking fusion dance with Molten. And when they do, they decide it'd be really fucking funny to attack you at the same time, which, if you couldn't have guessed already, is literally an immediate loss, as both means of fending them off take up a decent amount of time. The amount of time it would take is enough to have the other butt fuck you in the ass, hence the name, bullshit butt fuck wombo combo butt bang strategy. There's Baby up there. Oh. Yeah. This is cooked. This is cooked. This is actually cooked. Bro, I'm fucked. I'm fucked. There's nothing I can do about that. I was pressing enter, you. That was just cooked. There was nothing I could do about that. I don't know how long I have to hold it for Baby. And he was on my ass. I really didn't know what to do there. Really didn't know what the option was. This is really the only huge RNG problem this game has, and it doesn't happen nearly as often as something like Torbani Vent Aids does. Finally, we have Night 5, which is an interesting night, to say the least, as it's actually easier than Night 4. Sure, the animatronics are more aggressive, but I still think overall it's probably easier than Night 4 is. No new threats are added, however, one of them is removed. That being Lefty. What is the reason for having Lefty not present on this night? I'm really not sure. So this night goes just about as well as you'd expect it to. And with that, the game is over. We get a final monologue from Henry as he burns down the building with us inside, mentioning how he didn't want us to go, but he needs to bring his daughter back. I'm gonna be honest, I don't give a fuck about this ending. You wanna know why? Because it's not canon in any way. Yeah, this is the bad ending, by the way. The true ending has a lot to do with the tycoon sections of the game. And god damn it, that means it's time for me to go over this bullshit. First, let's go over how I fucked up this tycoon section as hard as I did. When you first load up the game and open the tycoon section, this is what the tycoon looks like. Fantastic. Looks like we're going to build off of this. Pretty interesting and different from the original. Wanna know the fucking hilarious part? The game expects you to press this button and erase your tycoon save data so that the tutorial for the tycoon section will begin playing. Does it tell you to do this? No. So why the fuck would I even think to do it? Sure, I pressed the button and saw the message to erase the save in my playthrough, but this is literally the first time I'm seeing the tycoon. Why in God's green fuck would I think to reset the data of the tycoon when I've never seen it look any different? I'm expecting to get comments calling me stupid for not figuring this out, but fuck you. You wouldn't buy a game, start the game up, and then think, actually, before I start playing this brand new game I've never played before and is brand fucking new, I should reset the save data for it first. You would never think of that. I'm sorry, this is just the most retarded thing I've ever seen. There is literally no indication whatsoever that I should reset the save. If there was indication, then there wouldn't be an issue, but there isn't. I'm just shown the tycoon and that's it. But hey, let's just relax for a moment and pretend like this part of the game actually makes sense. What exactly do you do? Well, you obviously go through the tutorial and learn how to play the tycoon, and then can get to building. And then from there, it's just Pizzeria Simulator. Buy things from the catalog and add them to your pizzeria to get points and level up. Fantastic! Completing the tasks during the nights will give you the money you need to buy more in the tycoon sections as well. Fantastic! Now, after completing night 1 is where the game starts to get a bit interesting. On the main menu, after completing night 1, you will see this big red box. Clicking on it will reveal a statue of a banshee. Turning it to its side will reveal a note describing that you need to look northwest to find a key. Wait one night and look again to find a door, presumably that the key would be used in. Going to your tycoon and scrolling all the way northwest, you'll be able to see a small red dot. Clicking on it will reveal a golden rose, which is presumably the key that was referenced in the note. Now, pause. I'm going to complain here again about how I fucked this up so badly. I had no idea that the map could be scrolled. Why? Because I was never taught in the tutorial, and I never saw the tutorial for reasons explained earlier. However, what I did do was click around the top northwest corner of the screen looking for this key. Clicking the big sign reveals a very dark red screen with some random text that'll become important later. So, this leads me to believe that this was the thing northwest that I was supposed to see. I thought I was doing the right thing. This series of coincidences is actually insane. Sure, there's no literal key here, but that led me to assume that the key was a metaphor for something else. Now tell me, would it be unreasonable for me to suspect some kind of retarded metaphor from a FNAF game? I don't think so, but whatever. After beating night 2, if you go back to the tycoon and press the red dot again, you'll see a golden pillar. Altar? I don't fucking know what this thing is. You can place the rose you got from the previous night there, which reveals a drawing of the marionette, the same drawing that you can see in your office above your computer. During night 3, if you click the marionette poster, you'll see what I believe to be a chair and a clock. I think. I have no idea what I'm looking at. You can push the chair underneath the clock and the pendulum of the clock will fall. You can then collect the pendulum. You will then get kicked out of the night back to the title screen. Clicking on the red box again will show the statue once more. You can then take the pendulum and place it into the stomach of the statue. Seriously, don't read into this too much. This is some fucked up Aoni type puzzle. Don't read into it, just accept it. After completing night 3, if you click the red box again, you'll get a cutscene. In it, you'll see clouds parting in the sky and a code appears behind them, along with the text, "The safe." Then you can go into your tycoon, and instead of typing tycoon into the directory, you can type clown, which will start up a remake of the clown minigame from Pizzeria Simulator. You can also play the ball pit minigame and Midnight Motorist. As I'm sure you could have guessed, the Midnight Motorist minigame actually serves some sort of importance. This minigame plays a lot differently than the original. It's a text-based adventure rather than a side-scroller. In it, you can walk around a forest and look at trees, something you all have never done before. Searching some of the trees, you can find a pendant. Walking to a lake, you can find an old man fishing. This person is who I assume to be Old Man Consequences. If you talk to him, he'll tell you the story of a girl who found a rabbit. The rabbit eventually dies and her father gets her to bury it. Later, she digs up the corpse only to find that the rabbit's fur had turned yellow. Oh my god, guys! Like Spring Bonnie, do you get it? Can you fucking believe it? Oh my god, I'm gonna bounce up and down, dropping my cheeks and testicles all over my desk! Oh yeah, you can also give the old man the pendant you found and he'll say that it belonged to her. Looking in some more trees, you can find blood-stained glasses. If you bring them to a man by a house, he'll tell you that they were your brothers. After beating night 4, you should be able to buy the safe item from the tycoon. We'll get to that later. Clicking on it will prompt you to type in a code. Typing in the code we saw in the cutscene earlier will open the safe, revealing a picture of a locked gate inside. After buying everything else in the Tycoon section, if you load the original version of the Tycoon and click the logo, you'll be sent to the gate. If you've done everything correctly, clicking on it will spawn you onto a boat. On the boat, you're told a story. Once again, I assume this story is being told by Old Man Consequences. He tells the story of Charlotte, Henry's daughter, the girl who was pushed outside of the pizzeria in the rain and left outside where she was later found dead. The story is abruptly ended by the line, "She isn't there anymore, Henry." Finally, if you've done everything properly and at the right times, when you enter night 5, the puppet will be present, likely being the reason Lefty isn't there. The puppet acts as this game's final boss. So let's quickly go over her mechanics. The puppet can appear in any of your 2 doors. When she does, simply close the doors and she'll go away. Additionally, she will play a laughing sound cue. When she does, you must find her on the cameras, and stare at her until she leaves. And as far as I'm aware, that's all that she does throughout this night. That may not seem like a huge issue, but of course, when paired with everything else and the bullshit buttfuck wombo combo butt bang strategy at the same time, this can be a very stressful night. But if you manage to beat it, you'll get one last cutscene. Michael Afton, alone in the suffocating darkness. He turns his lighter on, only to see the yellow bear, his own brother, staring back at him. Unable to look away, eventually even his brother leaves, leaving Michael truly alone. Knowing there's nothing left that he can do, Michael sets the building ablaze, killing himself while also allowing the souls, his brother, and Charlotte to rest. And with that, Banshee comes to a close. But hold up! Want to hear something awesome? If you remember, I said you have to get the safe in order to get the true ending. Well, I was chatting with the owner of the FNAF fan game wiki, City, and he told me that it is literally impossible to get the safe on your first playthrough, as it isn't possible to get enough experience to get to level 5. Since your Tycoon save and your game save are separate from each other, you can restart the main game and still save your Tycoon as it was, making it possible to reach level 5 and buy the safe on the second playthrough. I personally think this is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. Forcing someone to play through the entirety of the game twice to get an ending is insane. Yes, I'm aware New Game Plus is a thing, and yes, I hate New Game Plus as well. But aside from that, this game is truly fantastic. From the visuals, to the gameplay, to the atmosphere, and of course, the amazing retelling of the FNAF 6 story, I think it is easily one of the best FNAF games of recent times, if not ever. Easy S-tier game, and I would highly recommend it. This game does such a perfect job of bringing the fear to this series that I feel it really needs. The story of Five Nights at Freddy's is grim, and the game should amplify that, not take away from it. Recently, I've been covering a lot of very well-known fan games on this channel. Five Nights at Candy's, Pop Goes, and Animatronic Memories are probably names you're all familiar with. Recently, I've been looking for a FNAF game to cover that I personally had never heard of, and today I've definitely found one. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's super weird, but however, it does have its charm and an amazing story. So, let's waste no time and hop right into Tales of the Bunnyman. Tales of the Bunnyman opens with a cutscene that reminds me a lot of the old official Five Nights at Freddy's trailers, specifically Five Nights at Freddy's 2. We get several shots of the pizzeria interlaced with pieces of dialogue explaining the exposition of the story. We play as a man named Vincent Baldwin, who we later learn used to be a night guard and is one of the missing children's fathers, the father of Cassidy. We're entering the building to do some investigating and find out where our missing child went. And with our motive in mind, we're safe to head into Night 1 and start talking about what this game really has to offer. Night 1 introduces two characters, but before I start talking about them, I want to talk about the office itself. In our office, the first thing I want to get out of the way is this picture. I don't know who this is. I checked the wiki and couldn't figure out who this is. That's it. I just don't know who this is. Anyways, on to something actually important. The coolest thing I noticed about this office is that there are actually two rooms that we can move between. The typical office room and the boiler room. I'll talk more about the boiler room later when it becomes important. The door to the boiler room can be held shut, as animatronics will actually have to travel through it in order to get to your office. The only other things in our office is our camera system and a giant gift box. We can hide inside of this gift box to be able to protect ourselves from the first major threat of this night, Foxy. Foxy behaves pretty much exactly the same as in Five Nights at Freddy's 1. He starts on Pirate's Cove and makes his way through some phases before attacking. However, something unique about Foxy is he actually has two completely different attacks he can perform, each of which requires you to do something completely different to counteract him. The first attack he has is pretty simple. After he leaves Pirate's Cove, he will charge towards your office. When he does, you'll have to quickly jump inside the present until you hear him run away, after which you can jump back out and continue. His other attack is unfortunately a mechanic I've grown to dislike more and more as I play FNAF games. After leaving Pirate's Cove, Foxy has a chance to appear randomly on one of your cameras. When he does, all you have to do is find him and stare at him until he goes back to Pirate's Cove. This is mainly a me thing, but I've personally grown tired of the find them on the cameras mechanic. Yes, I do play Five Nights at Freddy's for a living, so yes, I'm going to see repeated mechanics a lot. Most sane people don't play as much Five Nights at Freddy's as I do, so most people won't find this mechanic to be that big of a deal, but hey, at least it's not a stupid fucking music box mechanic. We'll talk about that later. The only other threat introduced on this night is Bonnie. Bonnie is incredibly simple in how he works, as is typical in most FNAF games that feature him. Bonnie will make his way through the building and to your office. Afterwards, you'll be able to hear him at your door. You'll need to quickly go up to the door and hold it shut until you hear him leave, like Five Nights at Freddy's 4. When you do, you'll know it's safe to reopen the door and continue the night. Very basic. That's just how we like Bonnie, isn't it, guys? Right? You like it when Bonnie's basic, right? You wouldn't want Bonnie to just hot bottom right into your office and start fingering you, would you? Freak. And with that, we can move on to the post-night 1 minigame. Here's where we get to talking a lot about how cool this game really is. This game does narrative storytelling in a different way than any other FNAF game I've ever seen. Instead of an 8-bit minigame or a slideshow lore dump, Tales of the Bunnyman turns into a visual novel during the post-night sections, having you play in the perspective of a different character each night. I think this is actually super cool. While yes, you may think that it looks straight out of a My Hero Academia DeviantArt fan page, it is very clear that an amazing amount of care and effort went into these post-night sections, and that cannot go unnoticed. Before I really start talking about the lore of this game, I need to make it incredibly clear that there was so much poured into this story. There's so many details that I could point out that would make this video quite literally take hours to complete. And while I'd love to be able to talk about all of it, I don't have the confidence in myself to do so, and to be able to portray it in the way that it rightfully deserves. I'll be going over what happens in the story, but I won't be diving into every single minute detail, and I apologize if you were hoping that I would. Anyways, in this minigame, we play in the perspective of Jeremy Jr. Fitzgerald. After hanging out with his friends at Freddy Fazbear's, he notices that his mom has not yet come to pick him up. After waiting an extended period of time, he decides to just watch the performance on stage. Hearing a strange whistling coming from backstage, he enters to investigate, only to abruptly get abducted and murdered by the Bunnyman, going on to possess Bonnie. I honestly think that these post-night minigames are a breath of fresh air in this genre. I've never seen anything like it before, and I'd love to see more FNAF games try to do something new like this to tell their story. But now it's time for us to move on to Night 2. Night 2 only introduces one new thread, that being Chica. Chica does exactly what you'd expect her to do, and no, I don't mean eating until she pops like a balloon. What I really mean is moving through the cameras and then going to your office. Oh my fucking god, that is gross. Yuck. Fucking yuck, bro. She does go through one additional camera compared to Bonnie, making you see her less often than him, but other than that, she's exactly the same as Bonnie. I'll also use this night to talk about the only thing I dislike about this game. The mouse. Oh my god, this mouse is atrocious. Oh no, this mouse is really bad. If you're at all familiar with my channel, you'll already know that the way the mouse works is always something I'll have a problem with when fan games try to switch it up. In most FNAF games, when you move your mouse to the side of the screen will scroll in that direction until it hits the end of your office. That makes sense, and this is good. Tales of the Bunnyman instead decided to take a route similar to Sister Location. If you are to move your mouse to one side of the screen in Tales of the Bunnyman, your mouse won't follow the moving office. Instead, the game will keep track of its simulated X and Y positions in the office. And while this may sound super cool, in practice, it leads to you having to move your mouse all the way across your desk or increasing your mouse's sensitivity to be able to make up for it. Is this nitpicky? Yes. but I am giving my opinion on a game, so I think it's important to talk about things that I notice, especially when it's the main interaction mechanic in the entire game. Anyways, moving on to the post-Night 2 minigame, where we play in the perspective of Susie Sutherland. The group of friends were supposed to play the newly installed arcade game, Pop Goes versus the Machinist? 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 Mechanist? Machinist? I don't know. Instead, she decides to split up from the group to go look for Bonnie. Walking around the building, we can talk to a kid named Ollie, who mentioned something about Bonnie acting weird recently. Given the timeline of the events this game has, I'm fairly certain that this cutscene is taking place 16 days after Jeremy's disappearance. So I think it's safe to say that Jeremy at this point in time is already inside of the Bonnie costume. During this minigame is when Susie can also find a VHS tape relating to Edwin Murray. If you couldn't already tell, this game's story is heavily entwined with the official FNAF games. Later, Susie heads over to Pirate's Cove to get a peek at Foxy, getting startled by William inside of the Spring Bonnie suit. It's at this point I need to mention two things. One, why is this specific camera in the post-nights a 3D render instead of the usual 2D drawing? And two, why is William the only character in the entire game to have voice acting? Mr. Afton, don't scare me like that.
Now, what's a missy like you doing snooping around a pirate's property?
Why is he voice acted? I'm much more curious about my second question. I was a little caught off guard when I first heard him speak, since, again, nobody in the game thus far ever has. But regardless, that's not very important. After a brief, uncomfortable conversation with Afton, we meet up with our friends again at the new arcade machine, and as we play the game, we're seen being stalked by the Bunny Man. If you couldn't already guess, Susie Sutherland goes on to possess Chica. Now it's time to talk about Night 3, which introduces one new threat, Freddy and the Marionette. Now, pause. Let's just stop for a moment and talk about Freddy first, okay? Freddy, like Foxy, has two different attacks. We'll talk about the more simple one first. Freddy will make his way through the cameras and enter your boiler room. The reason he does so is to attempt to cut the power, because doing so will allow for the Marionette to come spread your buns and lick up your crack. To prevent this from happening, we will have to enter the boiler room and hold our flashlight on his face, causing him to bug out and leave the boiler room. However, before he does, we actually get to see him creepily tilt his body. Such a small detail, but I actually really like it. Now we can talk about the other mechanic Freddy has that I originally thought was going to make me want to skin an elephant. As previously mentioned, it's clear that Freddy wants to assist in helping the Marionette grope us. So, Freddy's other attack is him going to the music box to fuck up the Marionette's sleep schedule. Fun fact, I used to work a graveyard shift at a news station, and let me tell you, you don't want to fuck with nobody's sleep schedule, bro. So, in order to save the Marionette's sanity, we must remotely shut down the music box before Freddy can finish. Moving on to the Night 3 post-night minigame, we play in the perspective of Fritz Smith II. Let me tell you, this guy is a big fan of Foxy. So much so that he insists on constantly talking like a pirate, something that made me want to eat my own lungs throughout my playthrough because I was writhing in cringe. A.S. the worst one. It be fixin' to be jolly. What the fuck does that mean? Fritz leaves the group to go look for Foxy. Going to Pirate's Cove, he finds a decommissioned Foxy behind the curtains. Additionally, he finds a diary written by Henry. I guess for some reason, this is where Henry goes to vent, right next to the fucked up looking robot. A little weird, Henry, but you do you, boo. Inside of the diary, we read that Henry is struggling to cope with the loss of his daughter and his theory about Jeremy and Susie's disappearances having something to do with each other. Little did he know how right he truly was. Whilst continuing to read the diary, the Bunny Man appears behind him and drags him into the back room, all while taunting him, saying that he thought he was more interested in Foxy than Henry's diary. Fritz would go on to possess Foxy. Moving on to Night 4, we get to talk about a very odd threat, Balloon Boy. Yes, for some reason, Balloon Boy is in this game. Don't question it. I guess the developer of this game just hates fun. Balloon Boy isn't a very difficult threat to deal with, thankfully, instead serving more of an annoyance, which is very fitting for his character. Balloon Boy can only appear in 2 rooms in the entire game, the boiler room and your backstage camera. You'll have to listen out for a vent sound cue. When you hear it, you'll have to travel to the back room and find where Balloon Boy is, because, unlike Freddy, he has multiple different locations that he can stand in. Once you find Balloon Boy, just like Freddy, all you have to do is hold your flashlight on him until he goes away. I'm really not entirely sure why Balloon Boy exists in this game. I have yet to find any story reason for it either. Maybe it's just a popular character to put into the game, or maybe I'm just reading way too much into this. I'm not really sure, but hey, let's move on to the post-night 4 minigame. In this minigame, we play as Gabriel Collins. Gabriel sneaks into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza because he has a hunch that his missing friends are still inside. Once he enters, he searches the location, eventually discovering the marionette. They quickly become friends and begin exploring the establishment together. Eventually, they stumble across Michael and William Afton. William is trying to convince Michael to work as a performer, playing the character of Bonnie. But before we can hear anything else, William spots us. He chases us through the building, and the marionette hides us in its gift box. However, unfortunately for Gabriel, William finds him anyway and is knocked out. He wakes up inside of the Freddy Fazbear costume, watching William Afton jump around the dining room, mocking him through his last breaths. Gabriel would then go on to possess Freddy. This is easily one of the most fucked up cutscenes throughout the entire game. I'm no edgelord, as some people seem to think I am, but I really enjoy when games show us the depraved things that the villains do. I and many others don't want to just hear about things happening, we want to see them as well. Of course, I don't think we all want to literally see the children getting murdered, but I think showing off the situations in the way that Tales of the Bunnyman does is incredibly interesting. Next, we get to move on to Night 5, the final main night in Tales of the Bunnyman. This night adds Fredbear, an interesting but fitting final character choice. Fredbear acts as an everything character, being able to take on the role of every animatronic besides Balloon Boy and Foxy. However, unlike most everything nights that take place in other FNAF games, Fredbear is active alongside each other animatronic, adding one more layer of stress to the nights. Again, he doesn't have any unique mechanics by himself, but this time I'm honestly okay with that, only because the other characters are still active. It's at this point I want to bring up something I should have brought up a long time ago: the character designs. From what I've seen, the community seems to be pretty split on their opinions of these character designs. A lot of people love them and think that in combination with the grungy environment, it makes them look very creepy. However, on the other hand, I've seen plenty of people who think that the designs look unprofessional and seemingly come out of a game that came out many years ago. I personally have no problems with the character designs. I think they look creepy and uncomfortable. However, I do think that the texturing on the characters does look a bit odd, but nothing that I feel takes away from the immersion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Also, since I'm being a little meta right now, go subscribe to my new channel, Dexter Gray. I cover non-FNAF horror games over there, and we have a lot of fun. Anyways, moving on to the final post-night minigame where we play in the perspective of Cassandra Baldwin, or better known, Cassidy. Now, noticing that she's the only member of her friend group that hasn't gone missing, she vows to figure out what happened to them and find where they all disappeared to. Entering the back room, she finds a Fredbear plushie which, throughout the game, has been shown to be able to teleport on its own, and yet, for some reason, nobody felt like that was weird at all. This is really the only gripe I have with this story, the plushie teleporting around, and multiple people know about this, yet nobody is at all a little concerned about it. On top of that, it is literally never once elaborated on or explained why this happens. I can't even draw a conclusion because there's quite literally no reason, but let's try to put that behind us for a moment and continue. We do know that the plushie is being used by Afton to lure Cassidy into the back room. Now, pause. I know I just said there's literally no reason given as to why it's teleporting, and you may be questioning why I said that even though I just stated that William was using it to lure Cassidy. However, That still doesn't explain how it was fucking teleporting, and still doesn't explain why nobody gave that a second thought. Anyways, Cassidy is successfully lured into the back room. Scared, Cassidy runs out of the pizzeria and later returns for a Halloween party. Baka! I know that's not what that says, I'm sorry. As she explores, she's found by the bunny man who presumably knocks her out after stating, "You forgot me." She awakens to find herself inside of the Fredbear costume. William explains that originally he planned to save the Fredbear costume for Henry, but decided to use it for Cassidy instead. During their conversation, it's revealed that Vincent, the character that we've been playing as in the night sections, according to William, is a terrible night guard, which would technically leave him responsible for not noticing the children's disappearances on the camera, since every action that William had been taking was done under the constant surveillance of those cameras, including what's happening right now in front of us. This would give us a perfect reason as to why he's returning to the restaurant now to find his daughter, because he didn't watch her like he was supposed to. He never saw what happened. Afterwards, we get one last cutscene. Vincent walks up to the Fredbear animatronic and realizes it's his daughter. However, he trips and falls, which leads to him getting killed by his own daughter, and Tales of the Bunny Man abruptly comes to a close. Almost. There's actually one more thing to talk about, that being Night 6, or as this game calls it, the epilogue. In it, after completing the final challenge, which is just a harder version of Night 5, we see the line, "He finally found the suit that will become his tomb, the last lingering piece of his soul. A good song never dies." With that, we get to watch William's spring lock failure and onlook as he bleeds out. We're shown that Vincent, our character, was found dead inside of Freddy Fazbear's, and several news outlets labeled him as the reason the kids were murdered. I can't lie to you guys, I'm really eager to talk about this story, since after reading into it, I actually think it's really good, and it's clear that a bunch of effort was put into it. But like I said previously, I'm just not confident in my abilities to do it for myself. I've tossed around the idea of just reading the highly detailed explanation on the wiki that was written by somebody that was far more talented than I am, but I've decided against doing that since I don't want to come off as lazy and uninspired. And as much as I hate saying this, I'd highly recommend you go to the wiki and read up on it. It's actually such an amazingly well-written story, and I think it might just be one of the best takes on the official FNAF story I've ever seen. Overall, I think Tales of the Bunny Man is an enjoyable experience. The post-night minigames are interesting, and the story is fantastic and told in a way that isn't overtly confusing like most FNAF games like to be. However, I do think that the actual gameplay mechanics are pretty lackluster. Not only does each character not really have synergy with one another, this game is also just too easy. Throughout the nights, it never really feels like the characters are becoming more aggressive, which tends to lead to boring nights where you're just waiting for the much more enjoyable minigame sections. Stories in Five Nights at Freddy's games. Typically one of the most talked about parts of these games we love so much. However, I do need to bring up a question. When's the last time you've heard a FNAF story that you actually found interesting? After all, most of the stories in the genre are just retellings of the original story, and I think we can all agree it's starting to get old. Of course, every once in a while we get a masterpiece like Graveyard Shift at Freddy's or Chica's Party World Rebaked, but when's the last time you can really say you heard something completely new? Well, the game we'll be talking about today, in my opinion, has one of the best stories of all time. Split into two games, it goes on to tell one of the most unique stories FNAF has ever told. And the time between releases was almost an entire decade, with the second game only coming out earlier this year. The game we'll be talking about today is called The Last Sigh, the FNAF game with the most depraved story. The Last Sigh begins with a cutscene which takes place in an 8-bit minigame side-scroller. Usually these minigames are top-down, so this was pretty interesting. The art was actually pretty nice as well, and before we really dive into this game, I should make it clear that originally I'm pretty sure this game was in Spanish, as it has just been dubbed into English.
so in some places there will probably be some spelling errors in translation. The opening cutscene gives us our main character, whose name is Valentina, which is 100% the name of a porn star. Actually, I just checked, and while it's not the first name of a porn star, it is the last name of one. In this cutscene, we learn that our grandma, whose name is Omegna, which is insane by the way, has given us a job as a security guard at her antique shop. Why does a family-owned shop need an overnight guard? That I have no idea. Either way, our mother isn't happy with us because she wants us to have a different job. Why? I don't know. A job is a job. Why are you pissed off? Vernon, the name of this guy, no idea what relation he has to Valentina, but whatever. He says that our mom is impatiently waiting for us and our grandma wants us to sign the contract to work for her quickly since the shop has been suffering. And first of all, why would I sign a contract to work for my grandmother? That just seems a bit weird. And second of all, if the business is struggling, why are you hiring another employee? That doesn't even make sense. Eventually, we do sign the contract and voila, get the reasoning for this entire game even existing. We even get a cute little note from our grandma telling us good luck, which is usually just seen as a kind gesture, but in this specific situation, I'm going to take it as a sort of threat. After that, we get our first phone call, and this is where I noticed that this game does phone calls exactly how Project Readjusted 1 did phone calls. That being having the phone call take place before the actual night. While that may be nice to help us just sit and listen, something you'll notice about these calls is that they are literally long as fuck. And to really let you know how long they're going to be, I'm just gonna play out the first call in its entirety, since it also does a really good job of setting the scene for this game.
Hello? Cristobal?
Hello? Valentina? Is that you?
Yeah, it's me. What's up? Why did you call me at this hour?
Well, your parents asked me to call you in order to be sure that you and Camilo have arrived at Granny's shop and that it's alright. It could be done by their own, but, you know, they're a bit busy with their business trip and all that.
Yeah, I know. By the way, it's not necessary for you to call me and worry about me. I'm fully grown up. I can take care of myself.
If you say so. By the way, it's probably that they're more worried of Camilo than any other thing. By the way, how is he?
He's alright. He's sitting in the corner of the room playing with his tablet. He wanted to explore the place, but I'm scared of letting him go around alone. When I officially start my shift, I'll send him to sleep in the back room. It's full of boxes and those things, but I adjusted it to make it more comfortable. To be honest, I feel it was dumb of my parents to have him come with me. Also, this place is a bit spooky during the night.
Spooky?
Yeah, it looks like the perfect place to make a horror movie with those overused jump scares and those cheap resources.
Come on. Don't be shy. I don't believe that ghosts and those things really exist.
I don't know if I believe that, but I feel as though one of those armors at the entrance will become alive and start moving around.
Oh, I think you have seen a lot of television, cousin. From now on, only focus on watching who enters to rob the things of the shop. Then, if you like, you can worry if the doll of your room is cursed or not.
So funny. Alright, what else did my parents say?
Well, they also asked me to try and convince you to quit that job. But I know you aren't going to do it, even if I asked you to do it. You're so obstinate.
It isn't only obscenity. I need the money. I've been more than a month without work. Also, Grandma needs my help.
I know, don't worry. I'm not going to ask you to quit, but just take care of yourself. If anything bad happens, call me, okay?
Okay, I'll have it in mind. Although I'm economically bad, I still can't pay for the phone bill.
I see. It's fine. I'll call you tomorrow then. Now, I gotta leave, because I have a early shift in the police department.
Alright. Anyway, I have to rest too. Talk to you tomorrow. Rest well.
You too. Take care. Good night.
So, that was long as fuck, huh? The reason I showed you that call is because it explains a lot of backstory about our character that I didn't want to have to talk about myself because I don't really like the lore of these games, I can't lie. But here we go. We're watching for thieves and apparently the place is haunted. Who gives a shit? Let's just get into the actual gameplay. Stories in Five Nights at Freddy's games. Typically one of the most talked about parts of these games we love so much. However, I do need to bring up a question. When's the last time you've heard a FNAF story that you actually found interesting? After all, most of the stories in the genre are just retellings of the original story, and I think we can all agree it's starting to get old. Of course, every once in a while we get a masterpiece like Graveyard Shift at Freddy's or Chica's Party World Rebaked, but when's the last time you can really say you heard something completely new? Well, the game we'll be talking about today, in my opinion, has one of the best stories of all time. Split into two games, it goes on to tell one of the most unique stories FNAF has ever told. And the time between releases was almost an entire decade, with the second game only coming out earlier this year. The game we'll be talking about today is called The Last Sigh, the FNAF game with the most depraved story. The Last Sigh begins with a cutscene which takes place in an 8-bit minigame side-scroller. Usually these minigames are top-down, so this was pretty interesting. The art was actually pretty nice as well, and before we really dive into this game, I should make it clear that originally I'm pretty sure this game was in Spanish, as it has just been dubbed into English. So in some places there will probably be some spelling errors in translation. The opening cutscene gives us our main character, whose name is Valentina, which is 100% the name of a porn star. Actually, I just checked, and while it's not the first name of a porn star, it is the last name of one. In this cutscene, we learn that our grandma, whose name is Omegna, which is insane by the way, has given us a job as a security guard at her antique shop. Why does a family-owned shop need an overnight guard? That I have no idea. Either way, our mother isn't happy with us because she wants us to have a different job. Why? I don't know. A job is a job. Why are you pissed off? Vernon, the name of this guy, no idea what relation he has to Valentina, but whatever. He says that our mom is impatiently waiting for us and our grandma wants us to sign the contract to work for her quickly since the shop has been suffering. And first of all, why would I sign a contract to work for my grandmother? That just seems a bit weird. And second of all, if the business is struggling, why are you hiring another employee? That doesn't even make sense. Eventually, we do sign the contract and voila, get the reasoning for this entire game even existing. We even get a cute little note from our grandma telling us good luck, which is usually just seen as a kind gesture, but in this specific situation, I'm going to take it as a sort of threat. After that, we get our first phone call, and this is where I noticed that this game does phone calls exactly how Project Readjusted 1 did phone calls. That being having the phone call take place before the actual night. While that may be nice to help us just sit and listen, something you'll notice about these calls is that they are literally long as fuck. And to really let you know how long they're going to be, I'm just gonna play out the first call in its entirety, since it also does a really good job of setting the scene for this game.
Hello? Cristobal?
Hello? Valentina? Is that you?
Yeah, it's me. What's up? Why did you call me at this hour?
Well, your parents asked me to call you in order to be sure that you and Camilo have arrived at Granny's shop and that it's alright. It could be done by their own, but, you know, they're a bit busy with their business trip and all that.
Yeah, I know. By the way, it's not necessary for you to call me and worry about me. I'm fully grown up. I can take care of myself.
If you say so. By the way, it's probably that they're more worried of Camilo than any other thing. By the way, how is he?
He's alright. He's sitting in the corner of the room playing with his tablet. He wanted to explore the place, but I'm scared of letting him go around alone. When I officially start my shift, I'll send him to sleep in the back room. It's full of boxes and those things, but I adjusted it to make it more comfortable. To be honest, I feel it was dumb of my parents to have him come with me. Also, this place is a bit spooky during the night.
Spooky?
Yeah, it looks like the perfect place to make a horror movie with those overused jump scares and those cheap resources.
Come on. Don't be shy. I don't believe that ghosts and those things really exist.
I don't know if I believe that, but I feel as though one of those armors at the entrance will become alive and start moving around.
Oh, I think you have seen a lot of television, cousin. From now on, only focus on watching who enters to rob the things of the shop. Then, if you like, you can worry if the doll of your room is cursed or not.
So funny. Alright, what else do my parents say?
Well, they also asked me to try and convince you to quit that job. But I know you aren't going to do it. Even if I asked you to do it, you're so obstinate.
It isn't only obscenity. I need the money. I've been more than a month without work. Also, Grandma needs my help.
I know, don't worry. I'm not going to ask you to quit, but just take care of yourself. If anything bad happens, call me, okay?
Okay, I'll have it in mind. Although I'm economically bad, I still can't pay for the phone bill.
I see. It's fine. I'll call you tomorrow then. Now, I gotta leave. Because I have a early shift in the police department.
Alright. Anyway, I have to rest too. Talk to you tomorrow. Rest well.
You too. Take care. Good night.
So, that was long as fuck, huh? The reason I showed you that call is because it explains a lot of backstory about our character that I didn't want to have to talk about myself because I don't really like the lore of these games, I can't lie. But here we go. We're watching for thieves and apparently the place is haunted. Who gives a shit? Let's just get into the actual gameplay. But hold up, guys. I gotta interrupt again to tell you all that we officially are partnering with Makeship again to bring you an all-new Romeo Skaggs plushie, baby! You guys absolutely loved the first Skaggs plush that we released a few months ago, and I've been getting messages from you guys showing me that the new plushies have finally arrived. And since our last campaign did so well, Makeship wanted to work with me again. No petition this time. Just go to the link in my description to pick up your very own Romeo Skaggs. He'll be there for you when the Huzz aren't, which, let's be honest, is probably all the time. And I'll make a deal with you guys. If we can get this Romeo Skaggs plushie to get 1,000 sales by the end of the campaign, we will release another plushie of Skaggs in a maid dress, since I know that's something a lot of you freaks have been wanting. And our last plush almost sold 800, so I know that this is a milestone that we can hit. What are you waiting for? Go to the link in my description and cop yourself the new Romeo Skaggs for when you're having those lonely nights. Thanks again for all of your guys' support. I wouldn't be where I was today if it wasn't for you. Now, let's get back to the video. Sorry for interrupting twice. All right, so night one. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. This game is fucking terrible. Holy shit, it's so fucking bad. But we'll get into exactly why as the video goes on. Before we start talking about the 7 threats this night introduces, yes, I'm serious, it introduces fucking 7 of them, we should talk about the tools at our disposal. Let's start with our flash beacon. It's basically just a flashlight, but shittier. You know how with a flashlight you can toggle it on and off? Well, not the flash beacon. Every time you click, a fraction of a second of light will burst out of the shot, basically illuminating nothing. You have no battery life for this beacon, so if you want to see something, then what you have to do is just fucking spam click a lot, and this is what it'll look like. Doesn't that just look so fucking fun and totally not the most annoying thing in the entire world? Of course, we have a camera system as well, as you probably could have guessed. They also have no power attached to them, thankfully. Something to point out about them is that there is a metric shitload of characters you'll have to look through. Except, I kind of lied because even though this game has this many fucking cameras, only about 5 of them are even actually important, so we'll just get used to those. You can also use your flash beacon while the cameras are up, so if there's something in your office and you know it's there, you can flash it with your beacon while searching through the cameras, which honestly is pretty nice. The final tool I want to talk about right now is the turntable. To your left, you will see this turntable and it's connected to an extension cord. You have to click on the glowing red switch to turn it on, and once it's on, the power to the building gets turned off and is used to power the turntable. I really have no idea why this happens, but it happens, so let's just live with it. All right, that's about all of the tools that really matter. So let's jump into talking talking about the whopping 7 fucking threats introduced on this night. I have no idea whose idea was to add that many, but fuck it, let's just talk about all of them. And just a fair warning, the names for the characters in this game are flat out the most retarded shit I've ever heard, so prepare yourself. The first character we'll talk about is Huggins the Clock. And yes, it's literally just your clock. They made it a threat because fuck it, why not? Pretty cool though, I can't even lie, I've never seen something like that before. Every single time the clock changes to a new hour, Huggins will desynchronize his clock from the actual time. When he does, you'll have to quickly add or remove an hour from the clock to sync it back up. If you don't, then he's gonna put his clock without the L directly in your rear. Pin and Pawn are the next 2 fuckers I want to mention. They're these little stupid dolls on your right desk. At random, they will just fall over. Fucking retards. When they do, all you have to do is flash them and they'll jump back up onto their stands. If one of them leaves the table, you don't lose, but if both of them leave, then it's game over. Something you might be noticing is that these threats are not very challenging sounding at all. And while that's true that most of the characters in this game don't pose that big of an issue, what makes the game truly fucking horseshit is its terrible case of post-shift 2 syndrome, as it literally never tells you under any circumstance how to deal with these threats. It's not mentioned in any phone calls, it's not written down anywhere, and there's not even an explanation after you die to a character. You're just left to fucking figure it out on your own. Do you know how stupid that is? Do you know how retarded that is? Who made this game? Satan? Because I don't know anybody else that could create dog shit quite as steamy as this fucking pile of fecal matter right here. Anyways, let's continue. There's still a fuck ton of characters to talk about. Just keep in mind that you're never told what I'm about to tell you. Pandy the Panda is both the most generic name for a panda of all time and the next threat this night introduces. Pandy will start on camera 2B and move to 1B, then 1A, then 3C. Before we continue, I want to mention that every single animatronic in this game has the exact same sound cue, and it is incredibly loud directly in my fucking ears. When Pandy gets to your office, you need to very precisely put your mouse in the middle of his face, not a pixel too far left or too far right in the middle. Then spam your beacon right in his stupid bear eyes. Do this enough and he'll start violently shaking, which would imply you gave him a seizure, which I really hope is canon. And then after that, keep flashing him more since you can't stop when he's shaking. Only then will he finally leave you alone. All right, Dovey the dog is the next character to talk about. He is the first of 4 camtronics I want to talk about. And camtronic is a new term I'm coining to reference a character in a FNAF game that solely takes place on the cameras. I expect it to be used forever now. Thank you. Anyways, Dovey is super easy. Most basic camtronic of all time. He will start in Cam 2A. He's gonna try to progress through 3 different phases in this camera, and all you have to do is flash him once to make him go back on stage. If at any point you let him progress 2 stages, then he'll never be able to go back to stage 1, instead having his furthest back stage be stage 2, obviously making him much more scary to deal with overall. So how about we all just agree to not let that happen? Next up is Trojan, not the condom. Instead, it's the troll face mafia gangster. Yes, I'm serious, that's its name. I think it'd be more serious sounding if he was just a box of condoms, I can't even lie. Trojan starts in camera 3A and is quite literally exactly the same as Dovey. Seriously, the mechanic is identical. Just flash him to keep him away, and that's it. Next up is Dibby and Daba. Holy shit, these might be the worst fucking names yet. I can't quite decide. They're all so uniquely terrible. These characters are basically just one since they move together in tandem. They're in camera 3B, and they do the exact same thing as Trojan and Dovey. Are you beginning to notice a pattern with these camera characters? Because I am. They're all the fucking same. Flash to keep them back. Moving on. Finally, we move on to Karen, who is the name of a fucking dragon. So why the hell did they give a dragon the name Karen? Who knows? But do you guys want to take a guess what she does? She starts in either camera 4A or camera 4B. She can move between these 2 cameras whenever she wants, but her central mechanic is exactly the same as all of the other camtronics. That being, you just have to flash her every once in a while to stop her from fucking you. Hooray! Doesn't this just sound like such a fun, cool, and awesome game? No. Yeah, that's because it's just fucking not. This game doesn't have any post-night minigames, so that means we're free to just jump right into night 2, is what I would say if we didn't have another phone call. And remember how long that last phone call was? Yeah. Well, the phone call for night 2 is 6 fucking minutes long. No, I'm not
joking? Why the hell is it so fucking long? It's double the length of the first night, and we're not even in game, so we can't even click through the cameras. We're actually just stuck looking at this stupid fucking wall for 6 minutes while some bitch talks into my ear about some shit I'm really not paying attention to. God fucking damn it, bro. During the phone call, Valentina mentions no signs of intruders, but of course mentions the moving characters. Parallels are drawn to the robots that move around the Fazbear restaurants, so I guess this game takes place in the same universe, so that's pretty cool. Haven't really seen that since we've covered Jolly. They talk about how the characters are sensitive to light, which we've already had to figure out on our own. Our cousin says she'll bring it up to grandma, but for some reason, we say we'd rather figure it out on our own. Why? I don't fucking know. Moving on to the night section. Night 2 introduces 3 new threats, bringing the total up to 10, and it's only the second night, so I guess I'll just kill myself. The first goon I want to talk about is Snowball and Ghost, the first not completely retarded name I've heard in this game. And these characters are the sole reason why we need our record player or the turntable. It's the same fucking thing. He serves to be an annoyance character and not a character that will actually kill you. Throughout the night, Snowball will turn off your fucking turntable himself, and will keep his finger over it to prevent you from turning it on. This is where Ghost comes into play. While your turntable is off, Ghost will start to slowly manifest in front of your desk. Once he fully appears, he'll rip you limb from limb. Now you might be thinking, if I can't interact with Snowball, how am I supposed to prevent this from happening? Well, once again, the game never fucking tells you this, but after a certain amount of time, God knows what, Snowball will just choose to take his finger off the turntable with no sound cue, allowing you to turn it back on. So you just need to constantly be checking on this guy to know if it's safe or not to look at him again. And look at this stupid fucker's smug ass face. Stop looking at me like that before I take your carrot and shove it right up your ass. Next up is Matty Gavillion, who I'm just going to be calling Matt because typing Matty Gavillion just takes way too fucking long, and I'm not about to do all that like 16 times. Occasionally, Matt will start to play a little tune on his guitar. The song will either be in your left or right ear. If you hear it in your right ear, you have to flash your vent, which I've neglected to mention so far because up until this point it hasn't been important. Anyways, if you hear the guitar on your left side, then all you have to do is flash the hallway until it stops, and congratulations, you done. Moving on, the final threat introduced on this night is Cocoa Bite, who is pretty straightforward. He will make his way from camera 2 all the way to the front of your office. You deal with him in the exact same way you deal with Pandy. You may be wondering why I'm talking about a game that's this fucking boring, so I'll go ahead and spoil the surprise for you. This game has a sequel that is a lot fucking cooler and that I really do want to talk about. But in order for me to do that, I have to first talk about this fucking dumpster fire. Anyways, night 3 time. Phone call for night 3 is 5 fucking minutes long for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Solely this long, probably just to piss me off. The phone call reveals another instance of supernatural phenomena where Valentina experiences nervousness and hallucinations intensified by the turntable's music. The cousin provides advice to unplug the turntable, but Valentina hesitates for sentimental reasons and practical concerns of breaking antiques. The turntable cannot simply be unplugged because of the snowman's interference. Maybe perhaps cutting it would work. They talk about not bringing Camillo, which I'm pretty sure is Valentina's cousin, in for night 4, and that's really all the phone call has to talk about. During night 3, you get the ability to cut the cord on the outlet to the turntable, but spoiler alert, if you do, Snow Bitch will just kill you, so don't do that. Pretty cool that you're allowed to though. This night only introduces one new threat, but if there's one thing you know about this game, it's the guy we're about to talk about. His name is Naybar, which those of you with a keen eye will be able to notice is an anagram for Barney. And the reason why it's an anagram? Oh yeah, it's because Naybar is literally just fucking Barney. Why did they not call him Barney? I have no idea. Unfortunately, he's not even remotely interesting at all. He's just exactly the same as both Pandy and Cocoa Bite. Get to the office, spam flash him, and he leaves. Boring as fuck. Now, at the end of the night, we get some dialogue of Valentina going into the back room where Camillo is supposed to be, except Camillo is fucking missing because he was kidnapped, and it was at this point where I really started to question what the fuck I was even playing. We hear a scream, presumably Camillo's, followed by a disembodied voice saying, and night 3 comes to a close. What a wild ride so far. Let's move on to the night 4 phone call, which thankfully this time is only a single minute long, so I'll just let it play out.
Valentina, where are you?
Grandma's store, of course. I have to find Camillo.
Are you crazy? It's dangerous. You should stay home. The complaint is already made, and your parents will come back tonight. Leave the search for Camilo to the police.
I can't do it, Cristobal. Don't you understand? I can't sit idly by for the cops to decide to act. They said they can't do anything until several days have passed since the complaint. I don't plan to wait that long.
It's part of their protocol.
I don't care about protocol. What if it's too late? You know what? Forget this. I'll find Camillo by myself.
Night 4 introduces 2 new threats, and thankfully, one of them actually has a new mechanic, so let's just quickly talk about the fucking snooze fest first, that being Bait and Clop. He's just handy again, come to your office, flash, boring as fuck, now I'm into the goods. The next threat introduced on this night is called the Armor. The Armor is really fucking cool, but he's so slow that you'll honestly barely encounter him, which is really unfortunate because once again, he's really cool. It'll make its way from the entrance to your office, and this time, instead of just flashing his face, you have to turn on the turntable until he leaves. Now listen, I know I said he was gonna be interesting, but shut the fuck up and trust me, we're not done talking about this game yet, so it'll get a little bit better, I promise. But that's really all Night 4 has going on, so let's move on to Night 5. Night 5's phone call is back up to 5 fucking minutes for no reason. Why is it doing this to me? I want to kill myself. This is torture. Valentina makes a voicemail to Cristobal. She's expressing her deep concern over his and Camillo's disappearance and the supernatural events encountered. She speculates that the antiques and animatronics themselves might be responsible for the thefts and movement within the store, indicating sentient or autonomous behavior in the haunted setting. Suddenly, a sinister voice mocks the player, marking the probable endgame scene or a game over scenario. The antagonist reveals they had to get rid of Cristobal and warns the player they might not escape alive, though she might get to meet him soon. All right, Night 5 introduces both the best, yet at the same time most frustrating character throughout this entire game. That character is Nico Gavillion, who I'm just going to be calling Nico since that's a hell of a lot easier. Throughout the night, Nico will randomly appear in front of you with a ring around him. The ring will be filled with letters of the alphabet completely scrambled around. You need to click the letters to spell the word Nico using the letters around him. This is a really interesting mechanic, and I've never seen anything quite like it. I'm not gonna question how it makes sense since this game has already made it clear there's weird paranormal shit, so who knows, maybe Nico just doesn't like his own name for some reason. Also, for what purpose did they have to make this guy's head so fucking big? God damn, bro! Of course, the AI of all of the other characters are increased as well, but that goes without saying. But that's all this night really has to offer. After completing it, we hear Valentina send a voicemail to her grandma. The final voicemail to grandma frames most of the events. 5 nights of ongoing terror at the antique store, strange animatronics, and supernatural activity. Valentina insists on meeting in person to reveal the bizarre occurrences, acknowledging the disbelief others might have, but underscoring the urgency and danger. She states before she leaves that she wants to look around the place, noting a door she saw that piqued her interest. And yes, by the way, of course, even after that, there's still a Night 6. And no, there's no boss fight night. That wasn't really a big thing back when this game was made. It's just a harder version of Night 5. Who really cares? What we do care about is the cutscene that takes place after Night 6. This cutscene goes back to the 8-bit style we saw at the beginning of the game. In this minigame, it's revealed that our grandma has been evil the whole time or some stupid bullshit nobody cares about. The part that's actually kind of cool is Valentina gets fucking jumped by grandma and is stuffed inside of a puppet suit left to die. Fantastic. Nice to know all that work we did was for nothing. Anyways, that's all the last Psy 1 has to offer. As I've already said, there's another game that I actually really do want to talk about, so we'll hop into that in just a moment. But I really want to mention how piss poor this game is. Granted, this is probably one of the oldest fan games to come out of this community, so you can give it a little bit of leeway there, but I just can't get over how there are like 15 characters in this game, yet somehow only 4 mechanics. That's just insane to me. Really gives off some FNAF 2 syndrome, which like, yuck. I hate that shit. Anyways, let's jump into a much better game, The Last Psy 2. The Last Psy 2 opens to yet another 8-bit cutscene. We get to see Valentina being put into the suit again, picking up right where we left off. Grandma casts a fucking spell that does a body swap using her own soul, which is just insane. Didn't know Grandma knew the dark arts like that. We then see Coco Bite. Yes, the animatronic talk to Cristobal, who I'm pretty sure is Valentina's cousin. It never says that this is Cristobal, but I literally have no idea who else this could possibly be. And I'm pretty confident that it is indeed Cristobal. Anyways, Coco Bite says he'll let us go so that this is on our back. That's literally what he says word for word. I think what this is supposed to mean is that the vision of Valentina dying will forever be looming over our shoulders. Like, we'll hold the weight on our shoulders. I'm guessing that's what that means. I'm not totally sure. Again, originally these games are in Spanish, but he says that next time there will be no witnesses. We then get another cutscene talking about some functionality test. We click on the snow dick a few times and then see the armor, and then this happens? The screen turns red? I don't really know why, but that's what happens, so sure. That's cool, I guess. And with that, we're thrown into this game's version of the phone calls, which thankfully are actually something this time and not just boring dick. During this section, we're put into an old haunted building. We get a call from a girl named Francesca, and she asks us if we have everything ready to get going. She gives us the rundown on where we are and what we need to do each night. Who cares? The name of the place we're at is a theater called Eternos Recuerdos. While on the phone with Fran, we're not able to respond to her for some reason. However, we have a camera in our clothes, which I'm assuming is just like a body cam or something, as this was another line a bit lost in translation, and that we should flicker our light for our responses to what she's saying. We have 5 things with us every single night: our earphones to listen to Fran, our flashlight, which you may notice in this game calls a lantern. This affects puppets and animatronics. We get a screwdriver for some fucking reason. I really don't know why. A defense device, which I will just be calling the DD. We use this to hack into different systems, whatever that means. And of course, it needs electricity to function. And finally, we have a lighter in case the flashlight isn't enough light. Sure. As we walk through the doors, we enter a U-shaped hallway of the theater. There are 3 paths that we can take. However, on night 1, we only need to go right. Before we get to the office, we have to go upstairs to reach the room every night. We can run up the stairs. However, there are puppets close to us that could attack us if we run. But if we just take longer and walk up the stairs instead, they won't ever attack. So just take your fucking time and walk to avoid the problem. They always say the best way to block an attack is not have to block it in the first place. And that applies here too. Once we get to the office, we're told our goal for the night. But before we talk about that, let's go over all of the tools at our disposal. To start, there are 4 directions we can look. Directly in front of us is our computer, to our right is a window, to our left is the door, and behind us is a bookshelf. We of course have a camera system. However, we need to flash activate them to see the rooms. This will be a lot more important later, so I'll talk more about it then. In this game, there are also a very small amount of cameras, which I'm very grateful for since the last game almost gave me a heart attack with how much it had. Once again, we have infinite power, so we don't have to worry about that either. Our DD, or defense device, is our main source of defense, as the name would suggest. It has its own tab, kind of like the mask from FNAF 2. However, you cannot use it at the same time as your cameras. This thing is a little confusing to use and is really a pain in the ass. We have to use it to hack the PC password and get into the PC for the tasks we have to complete. When an animatronic gets near, a notification will show up on the DD. Pull the DD up and it will give you exact instructions on where to point your flashlight. You don't need the device to be selected on a specific character for this to work. It has all the animatronics and Huggins the clock for some reason, even though I never encountered him during the night sections, which would make me think he's a rare encounter or something like that. And our DD has infinite power, so that's really nice to not have to constantly worry about that. The next tool is our flashlight, which of course we use to deal with the animatronics. There's no power source to it, and this time it doesn't only light up for a fraction of a second and is actually a normal flashlight, for the love of fuck. It works in tandem with the DD, like I've already mentioned, as the DD will tell you a random part of the animatronic's face you have to shine the flashlight at. It's going to swap between facial features multiple times, so just make sure you're really ready to pay attention. Every animatronic has a different location and a different amount of times you need to flash them. So that means it's time for us to start talking about the threats that this night introduces. The first is Pandy. You remember him, right? Yeah, you remember him. He's cool. He'll make his way to your door. Once he sprints in front of you, you have to flash him 3 different times in 3 different places to make him go away. Again, the DD will tell you which places to do this in, and since it's random each time, I can't really tell you. This is super easy, but of course, it's only night 1, so that's to be expected. The next threat introduced on this night is Cocoa Bite. He's a lot slower moving than Pandy is, but overall he's the same, except he goes to your window. So this whole night will pretty much just be a Five Nights at Candy simulator where you look left, look right, and respond when you need to. Now, all of that was pretty boring, so let's move on to the tasks that we have to complete during this night. Of course, we need to hack into our wicked bitch grandma's PC and upload her files onto our DD. Every night requires a different type of files, and as you can see, there are a fuck ton of files that we have to upload each night. On night 1, we need to steal 90 megabytes of audio files. They're not all in one spot, and you'll actually have to dig through her files to be able to find them, which I actually think is pretty cool. That doesn't sound like a lot, but Grandma's internet is doo-doo ass, so this is gonna take a while. Something really interesting about this game is that if you complete the tasks before the night ends, then the night will end early, which is really nice and I like a lot. There's no post-night minigame, so we can just jump right into night 2, which does have us go on a side quest before going to the office. Once we get to the hall, Fran has us go down the left hall to investigate. We're greeted by a locked door. On the right, a doll and a door. We're told we have to find a key. All we have to do is knock on the locked door, look at the doll, pick up the key that the doll has for some fucking reason. This is like some Ao Oni shit, and enter the room before the doll can straight tickle my shit. Entering the room, we're told to turn our light on and exorcise spirits inhabiting different objects. Really getting into the paranormal stuff in this fan game, and I'm all for it. We have to exorcise 8 groups of objects, and at the top of the screen, we'll see which object has progress, and the progress doesn't increase if we aren't holding our light on them, which is how we exorcise them. Of course, one of these little side quests wouldn't be complete without a threat we have to deal with at the same time, and this time we have to deal with Barney. Barney will randomly show up on either the far left or far right sides of the room. All we have to do is flash him and he'll go away. Simple shit, really, but after that, we can go to the office. The file choice we have to download tonight is text files. You do this the same way you did it the last night. We have 2 new threats introduced on this night, and one of them is already recurring from approximately 37 seconds ago. So let's start by talking about Barney. Barney is just an eye slut. Awesome. We love those in our FNAF games, don't we? Barney is in camera 5, and he will make his way through several phases before attempting to spit inside of you. Literally, all you have to do is stare at him with the flash on, and this will make him go away. Not very hard at all, and you really won't have to do it that often during this night. Plus, you'll get a warning at the bottom of the screen when he's attacking anyways, so it's super easy. The other character introduced on this night is Jimmy. Quite literally the first normal name in this entire series. Jimmy is the character that sits behind you. Throughout the night, he will slowly wind himself up behind you. He'll try to move around a lot in an attempt to kill you, but he also toys with you a little bit. You will have to check behind you very often, and if he ever moves from behind you, he will either go to your left or your right. Figure out which side he went to and flash your light on him, and he'll go back to being behind you, and the cycle will continue. But that's really all we have to talk about, and at this stage in the game, you won't really need a strategy since it's really easy, and I honestly think that finding the files you need to find is a lot more difficult than actually dealing with the threats. All right, night 3. The moment I knew this series needed to be covered in a white video, since this night really shows off how this is not going to be your normal FNAF fan game. It's so much more. During this night, by the time you get to the theater, there's already an animatronic activated and waiting for you. Going into the hallways, we see Cocoa Bite waiting for us, so we run to the auditorium. Once we load into the auditorium, the game turns into a fucking first-person free roam game. What the fuck? This is so cool. I was honestly not expecting this at all, and this section of the game is honestly one of my favorites. In this auditorium with us is Pandy, who will randomly roam around. Our goal is to scan Pandy with our DD for a reason I'm not totally sure on, but of course, we can't let Pandy see us. We will have to follow him around the room, hiding behind chairs so that we're not spotted. This section is in no way difficult, but I do think it's super fucking cool and something that more fan games need. We need sections in games where interesting shit like this happens. It makes the whole process process feels so much more enjoyable. I actually have no idea why we need to get data from him, and this honestly just raises a lot more questions. After leaving the auditorium, you get the option to either leave the building or go to the office. Spoiler alert, if you choose to leave, Cocoa Bite will just pack your shit up because he's waiting for you by the entrance. So our only real option is to go into the office and start the night section. The file type on this night we have to upload is image files, and I'm really hoping we don't find Grandma's goon folders while searching. Alright, on this night we have 2 new threats introduced, and one of the previous threats gets an upgrade that makes him a lot more aids. So let's start with him. This character in question is our favorite fucker, Barney. He can now attack any camera with a visual cue of his fake form. When this happens, you must find him on the cameras. Fucking just shoot me in my fucking head. I can't remember the last time I didn't have to say that in a white video. Please kill me. Anyways, once you find him there will be 6 letters circling him. This part is very reminiscent of Nico from the first game. Take a look at these letters around Barney. I want you to take a guess what it is we have to spell with these letters. Go ahead, take a look. I'll give you some time. Let's look together. I'm not fucking seeing it. I'm not fucking seeing it. All right, that's enough time. Did you make your guess? Well, I bet you got it wrong because you have to spell no real and he'll finally fuck off. Why do you have to spell no real? And why does this work? I have no idea. Don't get me wrong, I love the new mechanic, but I would also love it if it made sense too. Anyways, the next threat introduced on this night is Barry. Barry attacks your door and he's way more difficult than Pandy and Cocoa Bite are. He only has 3 places to flash him. However, he moves like a fucking crack addict in Florida whenever you flash him, making you have to play aim trainer like when you're in school trying to copy what the teacher wrote on the board, but they're low-key standing in front of it. The whole flashing process with Barry also takes a fuck of a lot longer than both Pandy and Cocoa Bite. So say your prayers, little boy, because if you don't got aim, I hate to break it to you, but you're totally fucked. The final threat introduced on this night is Bait-N-Clop. Foul and disgusting name, by the way. He's pretty much the same as Barry, except he attacks your window instead of your door. And holy fucking shit, if you thought Barry spazzed out when you flashed him, you are not ready for Bait-N-Clop. Just look at this little fucking sped. He's going insane. I wish you the best of luck if you have bad hand-eye coordination, because this is fucking brutal. Oh my god. All right, now it's time for us to talk about night 4. Tonight, we have to go to the left hallway and investigate because we make terrible decisions instead of leaving. Do you remember the other door on the right side of the hall from last night? Yeah. That's where we're going. You'll have to deal with a little doll before entering the room. All you have to do is hold your light on him, and that's it. Then we can enter the room and the real fun can begin. Once you enter the room, we get greeted to just a bunch of random shit. We can see a Bonnie mask, statues, cum socks, and for some reason, even the rat from Five Nights at Candy's 3 is here, which is pretty interesting. Anywho, of course, there's a threat, and that threat is Jimmy, who I am not excited to see at all. So this part is really fucking confusing, I can't lie, but I do think it's pretty cool. Basically, you'll have to hold your light on Jimmy to keep his ass on the floor. He will jump up and move around the room like Vinny from Five Nights at Candy's 3, so you'll have to be following him around quickly. Once he drops to the floor, another doll will appear, and Fran tells us we have to burn her. This is the real reason we have that lighter. As we burn her, random words will start to appear and slide across the screen. You'll then have to hold the lighter on her and make sure your mouse doesn't touch any of the words, or else the doll will crawl up inside of you like that gerbil you didn't tell anybody about. You fucking disgusting freak. You'll have to repeat this process until you kill the doll, and then we take her with us for something else later. No, it's not sexual. Stop thinking like that. I'll get into why we take the doll with us in a little bit. Let's jump into the night section now. The file type we have to collect this time is video files. Now I'm really hoping we don't find Grandma's goon folder. This night doesn't introduce new threats, but it does upgrade the 3 threats we talked about last night. Barney now will not appear in camera 5 anymore, instead opting to just be an asshole and spam his spelling lesson attack a lot more, which really just makes my penis invert up inside of my body. Barry and Bait-N-Clop get the same upgrade on this night, but it really just makes them completely terrible. They were already pretty bad from how much they moved around, but on this night they can actually move the bookshelf behind you and fucking blow your guts up from the back whenever they feel like it. So now you've got a lot more shit you constantly have to check on, which just makes makes this night take a whole lot longer to beat. This night is where you'll actually start to need a strategy, since this is where the difficulty really starts to become apparent. Every 2 to 3 files you upload, you should turn around to check on Jimmy. After that, deal with any other immediate threat like Barry or Cocoa Bite. If Barney ever attacks, always deal with him first, since he will be your biggest issue by far. And the other animatronics will give you enough time to deal with him, thankfully. Whenever you deal with any threat, check on Jimmy, then go back to the files. This makes the night take a pretty long time, but it's by far the safest way to play. Now, it's at this point where this game gets really interesting. It consists of 2 different endings, and of course, I'll be going over both, covering the bad ending first. If you get all of the files from nights 1 through 4, instead of loading to the entrance, now you'll be greeted with a skull. He greets you with a somber, "Yo, here we are." That's how I imagine he sounded. Anyways. He states that you have every single piece in your hands, and asks if we're smart enough to solve the small puzzle. I personally am retarded and have no idea what he's talking about. But if you say no, or say yes and get the puzzle wrong, then you'll get to proceed to the bad ending. And he'll tell us that it's sad that our fate was decided, which really doesn't give me a good feeling at all. Loading into the entrance, we're told to go to the auditorium to investigate. Upon arriving, we see Huggins in the middle of the aisle. Literally just go left or right and he won't kill you. No problem. Making our way to the stage, we see an animatronic we don't know the name of, but it appears to be aggravated by our presence. We ignore it and leave for the office, only to find out that that very animatronic is following us. Getting inside of the office, the night begins, and at exactly 15 seconds, we're greeted to our DD bugging the fuck out and the computer being turned into a console, as the name on our DD changes to Rover. And that's a perfect segue into the only threat present on this night, Rover Lee. Rover Lee is obviously a boss fight character, with mechanics that were shown to us way back at the beginning of the game. Let's go over the computer first, since that will be the main way we deal with Rover. The computer has the text Rover Lee Lockdown Core. If you type help, you'll see 3 commands. CLS will clear the text on the screen, out will expel the souls for 15 seconds, I'll go over what that means in just a minute, and move X will move Rover towards a camera, so you can just replace the X with the name of the camera. When you use the out command, it takes between 25 and 35 seconds at random until the souls get expelled. Again, I'll get back to that in a second. The computer has a random chance to have an error, because RNG needs to be in every FNAF game for it to be interesting. The error will slow any expulsion, but will not cancel out the already expelled souls. All you have to do is click and hold a bar at the bottom of the monitor and you'll be chilling to get rid of it. Oh yeah, and you can only use the move command if Rover has all of the souls expelled. Now let's talk about Rover Lee, the actual boss. He has 5 different attacks that he can use, and I'm not gonna lie, some of them require the best hand-eye coordination I've ever seen in my life. His first attack is just him being an eye slut for a majority of the night. You have to watch him on camera 1A to stall him, but if he moves, he will never move back unless you specifically use the move command. His second attack, he'll have him reach your office, and if he does, you'll have to do a standoff against him. You will get a prompt saying that Rover is near your door. You have to look at the door with your DD up and then play some Five Nights at Candy's 3 type shit, tracking his face like this is AIM Labs. He'll jump from one side of your office to another, to behind the computer, to in your urethra, a whole bunch of fun shit. You need to have insane reflexes because you cannot afford to mess up for even a second. Honestly, it's best to just make sure he never reaches your office by using the move commands and stalling him, because this attack can quite literally last for the entire night. It's fucking brutal. Attacks 3 and 4 are pretty much the same, so I'll talk about them at the same time. Rover is possessed by 2 different souls, and each of them can attack you. The blue soul can only attack your door, and the orange soul can only attack your window. This is where your DD really comes into play. You have to tune the color frequency of your DD to match the color of the soul that is attacking you. That doesn't make any fucking sense, but it pleases the demons, so please the demons I will do to make them hop up off me. His 5th and final attack has both of the souls attack you from behind. When this happens, you have to turn around and face a Rover-like ghost. You need to look him in the eyes like your girlfriend asks you to do, but you have autism, so it makes it really hard, and use the DD to match the color frequency 3 times instead of just 1. Sometimes the color can change, and sometimes it'll stay the same, which is obviously the option we'd want because that's easier. The strategy for this night is generally easy, but acting like this night doesn't require more skill than most of the other Final Nights I've talked about on this channel would be an understatement. The moment the night starts, you'll want to immediately type out. Once this happens, stare at Rover until you need to deal with the souls or fix the console. Rinse and repeat until the end of the night. And honestly, if Rover ever gets into your office, just restart. Because I promise you, you're not going to survive that fight once he's in. You just won't. If you can survive all the way until 6 a.m., Rover Lee will enter your office and fucking kill you. Spotting that you've been controlling them from the computer, they are rightfully pissed the fuck off. A cutscene plays of Rover confronting Grandma, calling her daughter, saying that she lied to them, and complains a bunch like a woman. Then Rover fucking evaporates Cocoa Bite and Pandy, and then RKOs the shit out of Grandma. Actually a batshit crazy insane ending that I personally love. But we can't forget that all of that was just the bad ending. We still have the good ending to talk about. Before we start talking about the good ending, we need to talk about the files we've been collecting throughout the game. I'll go over them in detail a bit later, but that's going to take a really long fucking time. So instead, I'll just give you the quick rundown summary now. Omegna, the grandma, had a sister named Sani. Their mom died and their dad became an alcoholic. They ran away after getting beat, only to be brought in by an old lady. Sani steals some shit and Omegna slaps her for doing so. Sani runs away and is never seen again. It was never Omegna that was doing all the shit we've been going through. Apparently it was Sani. Again, that's a very, very rough outline of these files. I'll do a deep dive in a few minutes. Don't you worry your pretty little head off. Yeah, guys, my favorite part about eating a Reese's cup is peeling the panties off. You're gonna leave that in, aren't you, editor? Asshole. Anyways, now we can talk about the good ending. Back to the skull, the puzzle he asks is, what trick did you fall for? There will then be letters for you to spell with, and you need to spell the word twins. These twins, I'm imagining, is in reference to the sisters. He then says that everybody fell for that, and then asks their names, which you will then need to input Omegna and Sani. He will then state that there is something more important than the names. He asks us which one is the which, and you need to answer Sani. Bars, by the way, right there. Sani was the one behind it all along. She fooled everyone and made Omegna go to prison for a crime she never committed. She made you think our family betrayed us. The skull then asks, who of them are in jail? Which of course we know is Omegna. So that's what you have to answer. Yes, by the way, this section is incredibly convoluted. I'm aware, just stay with me for a little bit longer. Finally, the skull says we know what we have to do and wishes us good luck. As we load into the entrance, we're told that we talked about a hidden room inside of the building. Fran is worried a bit, but trusts us and helps us by luring whatever is inside out. We're told to hide in the utility closet from way back in night 2. Entering the room, we're met with Barney. He looks very beaten up and broken, which is why he wasn't attacking on night 4 and camera 5. That makes sense now, and I honestly think it's a really small but cool reveal. He says the witch is who hurt him, the same person who took him back to life, giving him a new life. He says that the state he is in is the cost of the ones who made her angry. And I'm gonna be so honest, I have no idea what the fuck that means. I'm nowhere near smart enough to comprehend it, so hopefully you guys can. He says that nobody here will let us leave, not even the witch. He says to give up and turn ourselves in, and how he doesn't regret anything he did. He just wanted to see the kids smile. Now I really have no idea why the fuck he added in that last line. Very fucking weird, and I'm just gonna choose to move past it. We leave and are told by Fran that the bookshelf is open and it's clear to go in. Going through it, we find another staircase that leads to the home, the name of the place the animatronics go when they aren't active. Upon arrival, we notice that we have to unscrew a case to acquire a key. However, this is of course not going to be as easy as it sounds. During this section, we have two of the most fucking aggressive characters I've ever seen in my entire life. It is insane. But before we talk about them, let's go into the layout of this section. Looking to your left, you'll notice the doll you picked up from night 4. Her name is Jenny, and she is how you deal with both of these threats. But holy fucking shit, the hitbox on this goddamn doll head is fucking ass. So fucking tiny for no goddamn reason, fuck! You must drag Jenny's head to make her look at either of the two hallways to the room we're in. The left hall has Bait and Clop, and the right hall has Barry. Now, when I tell you guys that these two are aggressive, I mean it. Holy shit, the goal of this night is to just slowly unscrew 4 screws, but it takes so fucking long because these two will quite literally be attacking you every 2 seconds. And that's not an exaggeration. Just look at the screen right now and tell me this doesn't look fucking insane. Every time you successfully turn Jenny's head towards them and flash them to make them go away, they seriously have a chance to show up again immediately afterwards, making this section take fucking minutes. and minutes longer than it would ever need to. And one of the best parts is that they can both attack you at the exact same time. That's just fucking perfection. I hate it here. Fuck! This means you literally have a chance, and a pretty likely chance at that, to encounter them 4 times in a row. You are going to make so little progress unscrewing these screws, it's ridiculous. However, once you manage to unscrew everything and grab the key we need, we go back upstairs and start the night. During hours 0 through 3 of the 5th night is all well and good, just the normal characters like we're used to. Except with one small tweak that they turned on the fucking gas this night, because holy shit, it's like seriously quadrupled the difficulty of night 4. It is fucking insanely hard. All of that is well and good, but once you hit 3 a.m., Rover Lee activates, and it's pretty much just night 5 from the bad ending. So just use the same strategy we used then, and we'll be golden. No problem at all. Just for the love of fuck, don't let him get in your office, because that minigame is more impossible than Shadow, Rat, and Cat all challenges, I swear to God. Once you reach 6 a.m., Fran tells us she's sorry and that everything is ready for us. She also mentions to check the safe that's been in our office this entire game. Inside, we see the doll Valentina is possessing, which I actually think is really fucking cool. This part honestly reminds me a lot of the ending of Saw 2, which, quick little spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen the Saw movies and really want to, it reminds me of the part at the end of Saw 2 where they revealed that the main character's kid has been stuck inside of a safe in the room they were in the entire time. It's so fucking cool, I love it. We grab Valentina and burn the building down as we leave. We then see a cutscene with Sanny. She's obviously pissed as fuck and is about to start her villain arc. She says she won't let herself be caught and that nobody is going to be happy, which just screams sequel right in my little gamer ears. But that is all the good ending has to offer. And now, sadly for me, I have to fulfill a promise I made a few minutes ago and talk about the files we collected, which is really just going into the extras and doing a fuck ton of reading. So let's just get all that bullshit over with. Let's start with the audio files. They consist of our great-grandfather's music, the sound of the curse Sanny uses, and Camillo's ghost, which is pretty fucked up. You have the ability to recreate the memories from these files, and doing so gives you an 8-bit minigame to play around in. The audio memory has us play as Omegna as a child as we see her father wallow in despair. She then leaves to go to her room and sleep, giving her dad some space. By the way, all of these minigames are going to piece together that summary I gave you before the good ending, so if it sounds like I'm repeating myself, it's pretty much because I am. The text files are a bunch of newspapers with a fuck ton of words. Like, oh my god, so many goddamn words, I really don't want to read them all, but fuck me, I'm gonna do it for the video. I'll have the editor put Subway Surfers or some shit on the screen, and for those of you that don't care about what these newspapers say, you can skip to the time on your screen right here to just learn about the minigame we'll be talking about directly after. Newspaper 1. Mysterious serial thefts of animatronic dolls continue to baffle the city. Friday, June 12th, 2015. All the missing animatronics belonged to large restaurant chains or family-run establishments with locations in the region. Last Thursday, June 11th, a 4th animatronic figure was reported missing in the city, this time from the Animagic's Burger Place, restaurant located on the outskirts of Santiago. The figure in question is Barry, a shark that performs magic tricks for the audience, and a companion to another of the missing animatronics. The establishment has already been closed for about a month due to the disappearance of another of its figures and the restaurant's mascot, Coco Bite. The security cameras had been damaged since the previous incident, so no footage was found of how the figure disappeared. With this incident, the total number of disappearances in just 2 months has reached 4. Previous disappearances included Pandy, whose original Chinese name is Tao, Batenclop, the animatronic from Batenclop's Terror House, and the aforementioned Coco Bite from Animagic Burger Place. The prosecutor's office claims to have no idea who was responsible for these thefts, nor their motive. We don't know what whoever is stealing these animatronics might want. The investigation hasn't yielded anything yet, stated PDI officer Diego Alarcon. In our opinion, the most likely scenario is that these thieves want to sell the pieces, but we can't confirm anything. There are more valuable items inside, so it's surprising they didn't take them. The officer also reported that the investigation is ongoing and that they will do everything possible to get to the bottom of this. On the other hand, the restaurant CEO stated that it will have to remain closed until the robot is recovered. We are still considering ordering a replacement from the manufacturer, but since this is the 2nd theft we've experienced, we fear they'll come back for a 3rd. Perhaps the best course of action is to remain closed for a while longer.
he declared. Newspaper 2. Missing cousins found in old antique shop belonging to their grandmother, January 15th, 2012. 2 of the victims were found with injuries, while the youngest was found dead. Yesterday morning, Sunday, January 14th, the body of a young man identified as Camilo Torres was finally found. He had disappeared early Thursday morning from the shop known as Omegna Antiques, owned by his grandmother. His 2 other grandchildren were also found with him. Valentina Torres, Camilo's sister, who is currently in a coma at the Central Hospital, and Cristobal Valdebenito, a first corporal of the Carabineros, Chilean police force, who had several minor injuries. As soon as they were found, the survivors were taken to the hospital. Valdebenito has not yet agreed to comment on what happened there, stating that he first needs to speak with his superiors about the matter. Regarding Valentina Torres' condition, the attending physician, Joaquin Soto, stated that the reasons for her unconsciousness are still unknown. Tests indicate that there is brain activity. Very low, but it is there. However, the young woman has no head injuries that could explain her unconsciousness. It's a very strange case, but we are continuing to examine her, the doctor stated. Regarding Camilo Torres, according to the investigative police, PDI, the cause of death was asphyxiation by strangulation. The minor's neck showed very noticeable marks. Both his neck and part of his spine, as well as his trachea, are, in the words of prosecutor Leonardo Altamirano, destroyed. Asphyxiation of that level is very difficult to achieve. An ordinary human could not do it, he stated. In fact, it almost looks like as if his neck had been crushed by heavy metal machinery, but this doesn't quite fit considering the finger-like marks left on his neck. The PDI also stated that the investigation is not over yet, and that, although with the current leads it is difficult to reach a conclusion, they will do everything possible to get to the bottom of this and bring justice to the guilty parties. Newspaper 3. Security footage from Omegna Antiques shows the owner attacking her granddaughter, January 16th, 2012. During the investigation into the murder of the 20-year-old at the Omegna Antiques shop, police found a recording of one of the owner's computers. The recording shows the owner ordering a group of animatronic robots to kill Valentina Torres, her own granddaughter. The video from the shop's security camera network shows a young woman and her grandmother, Mrs. Omegna, the latter apparently accompanied by animatronic robots from various well-known entertainment chains, which she kept in her shop. In the recordings, she can be heard ordering the robots to get rid of her, at which point the machines step forward and begin attacking the young woman. We don't know how she could have made them work or how she could have made them obey her, stated Leonardo Altamirano, the prosecutor in charge of the case. We believe the video may be some kind of fabrication, but all of the evidence seems to indicate that this is not the case. According to the several owners of the entertainment chains who once owned those robots, those models had been discontinued for almost 2 decades and had mostly been sold at auctions long ago, which is how they are assumed to have eventually ended up in Omegna's store. For this part, Corporal Cristobal Valdebenito, one of the victims of the cousin of Valentina and her deceased brother, Camilo, stated that he had noticed his grandmother acting strangely in recent weeks, and he also identified her as the kidnapper during the days he was missing. It was a dark, cold, and old room. I could see her there. She didn't say anything significant. She was the one who had me trapped. This morning, the woman was arrested by the Carabineros, Chilean police, and will remain in custody while her connection to the incident is investigated. Holy fuck, that was a lot. But let's move on to the minigame. In this minigame, Omegna checks on her dad in the living room only to see that he's passed out drunk as fuck on the couch. She leaves to go reminisce in the kitchen. She checks the fridge only to see there's no food inside, and she wonders when Sandy will come home from her job. The image files consists of some bottles, a picture of Barney, and whatever the fuck this shit is right here. I literally have no idea what else this could be. My only guess is that the potion grants life, maybe, judging from the conversation we had with Barney, and then the Barney picture is just Barney being destroyed in the closet or getting a new life. I have no idea. And then the question mark image, bro, I'm scratching my head and my balls. You guys tell me what the fuck this is supposed to mean, bro. I've got no idea. The memory for the images has Omegna's dad drunk and yelling at her. He beats the shit out of her while she begs him to stop. He yells at her and tries to drink more, only to notice the bottle's empty. He shatters the bottle on the wall and tells Omegna that he's going to go get more. He tells them that when he gets back, he doesn't want to see either of them and that they need to go to bed now. Sandy shows up to comfort Omegna. Omegna confronts her, saying that they will not be hurt by him again. And then they run away from home together.
This is probably one of the more disturbing cutscenes from this game, for obvious reasons. As far as the videos go, they're all just Pandy, Batenclop, and Cocoa Bite jittering in their new bodies. But this memory is a hell of a lot longer. Omegna and Sanny are arguing about Sanny stealing money. Sanny is thinking like a survivalist, but Omegna is thinking like a pacifist, explaining that she could just work. Sanny states that no one saw her and that she was poorer than a rat. Omegna shoots back that she shouldn't talk about herself like that and that she should be grateful that she took them in. Sanny states that the money was not entirely for herself, saying that she will buy things to help her. Omegna states that she wouldn't even accept the money, yet she should give back what she has left. Sanny states that she will not and will put the money to good use. Omegna snaps, stating that this is the last straw. She mentions that Sanny comes home late, skips school, and doesn't follow instructions. Sanny turns away, but Omegna puts her hands on her to make Sanny look at her again. Sanny states to get her hands off of her, but Omegna demands Sanny to follow her orders. Sanny snaps back, stating that Omegna isn't her mom. Omegna slaps Sanny, she apologizes, but Sanny runs away, stating that she hates Omegna and to stop bothering her. They have never seen each other again since that day. So there you go. I told you I'd cover it in more detail. Are you proud of me? Please say yes, because I've been writing the script for no joke the last 6 hours. I'm fucking dying over here. 2 more things before we wrap up. The first is this weird minigame called Pandy POV. It's just some point and click bullshit and seriously provides no lore to the story whatsoever, just a time waster. And the final thing is what happens after you beat 720 mode, which I obviously didn't fucking do because I'm not a maniac. After you complete it, you get this short cutscene. Yes, it's in Spanish. I don't give a fuck. Hop off my dick and read the subtitles.
Sigues teniendo pesadillas, ¿eh? Tranquilo. Pasaste por mucho estrés durante esas noches. Es normal, y lo sabes. Poco a poco estas se irán. Todo está bien ahora.
So there we go, a teaser for yet another game to come, and it looks like there's gonna be a character with a cane, so maybe it'll be me, who fucking knows. But as far as I'm aware, that's all the last Psy has to offer. Overall, I think this game has one of the most interesting and unique stories I've ever seen come out of a FNAF game before. Sure, I do think the first game is complete ass, but the second game really makes up for it. It looks fucking amazing, the gameplay is actually interesting, albeit incredibly difficult at times, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who wants a fun challenge. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think the last Psy should have never gotten a Dexter White video in the first place? Let me know in the comments below. In my crawl space video, I asked you guys what your favorite part about crawl space was and why, and my favorite answer was this one by the Squisher7543. They said the flipping mechanic, and while a lot of people said that, the reason this person provided, I think, is really interesting. The question of this video is, do you like trading card games? And if so, which is your favorite? I'm not going to explain why I asked this question, but let's just say I've been planning and teasing for a while now. You guys just didn't know it. With the question of the video being asked, subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it a lot. And don't forget to use the link in my description to download Raid to get super rare exclusive bonuses, with 2 legendaries and 1 epic champion for new players. Thank you to these 3 talented artists for your fan art. You can submit yours in the Discord link in the description. Thank you to my super fan channel members. You guys make me smile from ear to ear. Go buy yourself a Romeo Skaggs plushie while you still can. I've been Dexter, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!